powder paint, I smell like indica. Hooray, hootie hoo, hair. Mystery Babylon, belly dance. Nosferatu, army of darkness. Hecate, take the arrows out the harness. Quiver, impending doom. They drink the shield broth. More red, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the ghostiest of them all? Legend of darkness. Legend of darkness. Legend of darkness. Legend of darkness.
Welcome, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed that very unofficial video that I put together today for Teddy's.
Absolutely amazing, great stuff, great work. I think you should send me a copy, and I'll splice it into the official video for that song.
Cool, that sounds good. Yeah, I was just kind of goofing off.
Yeah, we can grayscale it and stuff, and do all that type of thing, so it just looks like an artistic rendition without stepping on too many people's toes.
Yeah, exactly.
Type of thing.
I may need to go back and edit that, but I'm going to go ahead and say hello to the chat before we begin, because you guys are popping off in here and I just want to acknowledge you.
That's right.
Bug FX, hello, and thank you for being the first person here, and thank you for sending your questions. I got Lisa, Taz, Christy, Fats Rabbits, and we have also Beatnik Bulba and Pixie Moss, and lest we forget Kike Kike Cruz.
Kike Cruz, man. What's up, man?
Thank you to everybody who sent some questions to ask Teddy today. We'll get to those. We're just going to kind of shoot the shit a little bit and hang out, and chat. We're going to chat about Teddy's new album. We've discussed a couple things we might have in common and want to talk about as well. I hope that you've got your wine, your beverages, your beer, some kind of snack. We have no idea how long we're going to be going right now, but we're in it to win it.
We play songs. You can take a pause. I'm going to be blazing indica. It's only indica, folks. It's okay. There's nothing to worry about over here. It's not brown. It's not heroin and gunpowder or anything like that. So just in case, people are wondering.
So this is kind of fun because I don't know if Teddy's ever done anything like this. So we get to hang out with Mr. Black Magic himself and chat. I'll pay attention to the chat too. If you guys drop something in there, I will definitely acknowledge it. So let's talk a little bit to begin with why we're doing this and why we're doing this together. Let's see, how did I find Teddy? Let's talk about that. That's fun. Yeah.
My future's so bright, I got to wear shades.
Yeah, we got the shades. So I found Teddy through Lady Babylon, obviously, as I'm sure most of you guys have as well. And always, always, always incredible music. And because I also am a musician and a producer, albeit a bedroom producer who's a little bit sloppy, I've worked in record stores for,
Moby.
I know.
Come on. And there's so many rappers that are multi-platinum that just work off a laptop and a microphone, and they use the earbuds from the iPhone and they just rap. So don't even say that. The game has changed. It's Saturnalia. So don't classify. One thing I don't like is people classifying you, especially when the industry classifies people. So don't let them classify you. Just do your thing. Don't need to limit yourself. I know it's being humble. And I do self-effacing humor too, and I'm humble too. But don't just say don't fuck, because all their fucking producers nothing more than you doing.
I want to say though that I have been music obsessed. I grew up in my dad's music studio. I started singing when I was a little kid, playing drums and goofing around. I remember watching my dad do his vocal exercises, and he had the same vocal coach as like, I don't know, the guy from Aerosmith or something crazy like that. And so I've listened to music my whole life. I make music, and I've worked in record stores for like almost 2 decades. Um, and I've also like hung out with tons of musicians. I've worked in a lot of
Are
different
we
settings.
supposed to drop names like Steven Tyler and stuff? Are we supposed to drop names? Or are we just gonna say? Are we gonna acknowledge bands? Are we gonna drop names through this thing?
I don't know. I guess we can do whatever happens.
Okay, no, it's cool. I just wanted to know rules. There's no rules.
There's
Do
no
as thou
rules.
wilt.
Yeah.
Nothing is real. Everything is permitted. Hassan Sabah. No, that's cool. Excellent. So that's right. So your music, you're very into the music. You dig the music. You're around the music. That's great.
What I want to say about that though, Teddy, is that when I
Amazing.
heard your music, because I have the ear for it, I was like, oh, who is this? This is good music. You know
Well,
what I
thank
mean?
you.
It's
Thank you very much.
not only lyrically and instrumentally, I can like hear that you have a lot of experience. So when I found you as a person outside of Lady Babylon, it actually I think was from Kike because Kike Cruz was doing those remixes, I think, and had mentioned something about how you had a YouTube. And I was like, what? How did I not know that? And so I've been coming and listening to more of your music and checking it out. And my mind is blown. You're just one of those rare people who has it in here and you're just like boop boop laying it out and like centered. Do you know what I mean by this?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. I just try to apply myself. I tell a lot of people it's just my decisions is that I just keep applying myself like through verbs. And so it's or what is it called? Art imitating life, life imitating art. But just to do it. So nothing to it but to do it. But I see a lot of people get sidelined and they always want somebody else to do it. We can start talking about Hollywood and what it really is and what art is and all those other type of goody goods too that you're getting at when we discuss these wonderful things. But thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate that you can hear with inside, I do try to write the poems or say something, which is basically to, encourage others, inspire others, and to spread the truth.
Yeah, it comes through. Legitimately. So, anyways, I just want to give some backstory as people are like, why are you guys chatting? What's going on here? So Teddy just dropped a new album called Nosferatu, and it's absolute fire. There are some incredible anthems, and I'm stoked for you guys to hear it if you haven't heard it yet. And yeah, we're just like, rocking sunshades, musician, artist, freaks, magicians. And so we thought it'd be fun to get together and celebrate tonight and chat with you guys and just kind of talk about whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, it was either Joe Rogan or this, and I said, "No, I think I'm gonna hang out with Martin Medawas." So it's all cool, right? But, we do some podcasts and something. We do the live shows there, and then we just like play the music. So rock and roll, right? So
I appreciate that, Joe Rogan. Geez Louise. Yeah, and I have a lot of you sent me or emailed me and sent me some questions too. So this is super cool. We can get into that later. I think I'm curious. Can I ask you a couple?
Tucker had the military dudes on too. He was busy today, so I said, "No, we're gonna do this tonight," and then it's all good.
You're so generous, Teddy Base. Jeez Louise. Well, this is making my day. Yeah, Joe Rogan can wait. Kike, you let him know.
You just get the fuck out of here. I got better things to do.
Jeez
Got
Louise.
important people to talk to over here, right? We got to talk about Vampira and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Important topics, important discussions. Hollywood's baby, Scarfaces, and all the stuff.
That's another thing we have in common, right? Is like we're both into old Hollywood horror and stuff like that. Like I'm obsessed or have been throughout my life with like the woman in the black dress.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Like the Blue Lady of the Lake.
Yeah.
All these sort of archetypal women in our lives, and the sorceresses and the goddesses and the magicians and the warriors that they are. The badass chickadillas, as I say, I'm usually with the baddest chickadillas in the room. where you usually find me. More purple to the OZ, baby. So yeah, we wanted to say discussing Mila Nurmi. Am I saying that?
Mila Nurmi, Vampira.
Vampira. Vampira. And I just thought, so we can get right into a lot of stuff. We'll talk about turning left and the applications of through understanding and writers like Idris Shah and Sufism and what I'm doing and the practical application of magic. But so Vampira and Elvira, I mean, you can hear it right in the pronunciation. But yeah, Vampira is the original Elvira. You look into it, and she's obviously come off a little bit of that Morticia style, but with that sort of black goddess Chickadea, who is often held in the pejorative. But that's all subjective, noun stuff, good or right and wrong is subjective. Just doing practical magic, that's more like Bhakti yoga, which is you're just doing it for the giggles and the kicks. You don't really care about the end all be all, because everyone else all caught up in them lower yogas like karma yoga and jhana yoga, and I'll play them little games. But I do the Bhakti yoga, so I just do a devotion just to slay the demon beast, and that's the name of my record company is adhoksaja, which is a Sanskrit word which means he who pushes down or he who defeats. You hear the word ad hoc a lot of times in a legal thing when they think it means impromptu, but it doesn't mean that. It means to meet all the criterias, because then it's an action name. All the Sanskrit terms are verbs, actions. But there was a magical demon beast that was controlling the people, and it had a magic spell that it couldn't be killed on the ground, it couldn't be killed in the air, it couldn't be killed by a sword or all these type of things. And then the Lord shows up in action and does the thing and meets the criteria. So he has like 1 foot on the ground and he's got another arm in the air and he does all these things and then he kills the beast. But he met the criteria. And that's what's important, because nowadays I see that the evil is part of the magic is the Wizard of Ozdri, the 1984 George Orwell, is that they believe the spin so much and they believe the Jesuit theater. But everyone forgot about the assassin and the courtesan who is Hecate, and it's really Hecate Cabaret, because she will come and take you away, baby. And that is how Hassan Sabah does it. So that brings us around to Vampira and how she's super duper cool and brings out this black Chickadea, and she's totally what she was. She did the broadcasting for the horror films, right? Because they wanted to get people to do this stuff in the 50s. So it was a classic time. But she didn't do what I'm doing, which is taking yourself, because at the time it was so much the racket. If you couldn't go and do your own thing, or you couldn't rebrand yourself. So later when they did the Elvira thing, I saw that they cut her out, or she didn't let her thing and they fucked her over. And then they couldn't use the name Vampira, so they came up with Elvira and just stole the whole thing. She should have gone out and done more Vampira. She should have gone and done that, and just even done a boutique. And like, 'cause she was already doing everything. And there's another thing you see when she talks about, she says, I made the dress handmade because I didn't have the money. Who cares about the money? That's so Jesuit. Who cares about the fucking money? And the fact you're doing it yourself, boutique, and had people come and you're doing one-offs, that's golden. That is, very, I would say, top art echelon, Picasso type of stuff, Basquiat. When you just do one-offs, and everyone really wants to emulate that. And you see that she could have done it. So anyways, I see it another one sort of like a Bob Ross story. Very sad. But I never liked Elvira. Something about it, I was like, no, it's and then I find out now, no, see? And now I know. So my spidey sense served me right. It's Vampira all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, her story is super duper sad. I used to visit her grave at Hollywood.
Giving up that she had a kid with the one that got the famous dude and he made her give it up. Like for adoption. Yeah, who is the writer, Ray Bradbury, or whoever's the big, not the Ed Wood dude.
The one who gave her syphilis. or a different
Could
one?
have been. I don't know. Well, you see about the drugs, and even when she talks, so it's the drug party and the Hollywood stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all that bougie and the money. But it was the writer,
What's his
her
name?
first husband. She was married to 2 dudes.
Yeah.
I can pull it up. We can pull this up. We
Yeah.
can do
We'll
this
look
on the
for that.
fly. Looking at on the fly, baby. Looking at on the fly.
Yeah, she's super punk though. If you go back and just search for photos of Mila Nurmi, she was like one of the OG. She had like a Chelsea haircut, buzzed with like crazy stuff. The reason I wore these glasses, these are actually my daughter's glasses, but Vampire wears glasses kind of like this, but they're like bat wings. She's incredible style, and she would make her own clothes, and she did end up doing like some work with the Misfits, I think, later on. But yeah, man, it's like,
Super goth. Yeah, no, and she's totally with it. And it's totally like counterculture. It's everything that want to be that then they market back to you. Even in the comic books, Vampirella, you see so much being borrowed from the thing and being applied to it, right? So
yeah. Yeah, and Elvira totally did kind of rip her whole style, which is unfortunate. I think Cassandra Peterson is super duper funny. But and like Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, has been historically one of my favorite comedies.
and it's sort
But
of cheesy and it's lowbrow. I mean, I think it's real life-ish because it's like the Trailer Park Boys. So I appreciate it for what it is.
yeah,
But a lot of people just look at it as sort of like she's just hosting the stuff, and she's done a couple big things too, right?
yeah.
Comedy style, big feature films or whatever.
The
Which
name
is
is like,
almost like, isn't it like B porn because it's just boobs and bad jokes?
yeah. Yeah, what was that quote from Elvira, Mistress of the Dark? If they ask about me, tell them I was more than a set of great legs. I also had, I don't know, great boobs or something. And then she said, just use these 2 simple words, any 2 words as long as they're simple. But literally, she just exuded the sexuality. And that was the premise of everything. And it kind of wasn't like enriched in the way that Mela Nurmi's Vampira was enriched, because her character was terrifying. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of the original footage because it was destroyed. People didn't see as much value in it, so they didn't preserve it. So we only have some of the footage, and what we do have is like chef's kiss.
Right. Lame-o. And like you say, all those stills and stuff, and she is so Mary Shelley and so Frankenstein and so Nosferatu. And I saw her in the thing. She's like, I don't like all these color movies. She likes the black and white stuff. And she's like, I like Nosferatu. And I was like, oh, wicked.
So cool.
That's so cool.
Wow. That's so funny that I use that.
I used to watch Turner Classic Movies because they just play and I hate fucking television. I can't stand watching the propaganda and all the fucking lies. So watching old black and white movies, and I think 4 or 5 years ago, it was like the 200th year anniversary of Frankenstein. So they just played all these crazy just horror films. It's probably the only time I ever enjoyed watching TV.
Hey, Beatnik Bulba, the Elvira pinball is actually my favorite pinball, and I've definitely played that very often in Detroit. And black and white movies do hit different. They sure do.
All right, I looked it up. Sorry, I was kind of distracted there. It's Orson Welles. She had a kid with Orson Welles.
Yes,
and he fucking pressed her to fucking give up the kid. That's fucked up. Go ahead.
He is sick. He's sick.
Unbelievable. Can you imagine that? Motherfucker, man.
Needs a little more red
on the Jesus juice. The fucking Hollywood people would do what they were doing, the same Jesus juice racket back then.
I know
it was all just a scam.
Same,
it was all about the drugs and the bells and whistles. And it was way more dirty, like greaseball stuff. Like if you ain't in the thing, because Medea the sorcerer had left, so they were trying to return on everything, but they didn't understand electrical grids very good. And then they were doing the big Jesuit reset on the Marxism to make everyone think they're monkey pig tree fuckers, and they took away the airships because she was born in the 20s, right? So that's right when they did the World War II, and they did the flash thing and pretend, no, you're a monkey tree pig fucker. You're barely smart enough to read and write. You better stay in your position, little person. Your masters don't like it. And they did some real MK Ultra stuff with theater, because that is the Babylon thing, is to send people to the theater, and then they want to emulate that thing, right?
Yeah.
So And no matter what they say, there's no war anywhere else when it's you are the one that's being affected. It's your pocketbook and you're the one they're bombarding every day with propaganda. Then you're the target, not somebody else. That's the fucking psychology of it, you know. But you buy, and the people go to work and then they pay for it. So they pay their slave masters. That's Stockholm syndrome.
They love it too.
Huge, you know.
It's a nice excuse to just float downstream, right? It's like,
and then you can get into real good drug addiction, and you can, and then you can pretend you care about Jesus, and you can sort of get off the drugs now and then blame all your fucking sociopathic, psychopathic behaviors on the drugs when it's really just because you want to do some dope, and they know that. But they're going to play psychological games with you all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up how
or if you do their dope, and if you repeat after me, really good, and you dance when I say dance, and you jump just as high, and you take the drugs I want you to take, and you never ever think for yourself, well, maybe you can live in a nice house, but only, how dare you do not utter a word I don't like.
it's a cage. It's a racket and a cage.
Well, because the root is what's true. The root is in the what's real is in the root, and the plant leaves and it believes its thing, and it goes away from it drifts away from the truth. Then the people think that the thing that leaves, is what's real, but no, what's real is the root. Mm-hmm. The root isn't the matter of the truth.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Even in Sanskrit, the difference between Devi, or a candidate for enlightenment, and Asura, a demon, is strictly turning away from the truth. So whatever the creator is, whatever it is, if you look at the creator, then you're trying to express the truth.
What do you think it is?
If you turn away from that, then you're demonic, because you're turning away from the truth. So all they've done is they've just drifted from it, and that's part of the magic, is that we fund, and that's why Hecate and Medea don't want a lot of people bothering them. Like, don't bother them, because they don't want all these fucking weird ass motherfucking pedophile, creepy motherfuckers coming and trying to do the rituals with them. They gotta work with them. Like, I don't want to work with Epstein clients, so take the Puff Daddy parties and go put them over there. And
it has to be predictable. If it's not predictable, then that's dangerous.
Well, that's and that's the Philip K. Dick's definition of the androids, is that they can't think for themselves. So if you're a good android, they like it. But if you begin to think for yourself, or you put on the They Live glasses, it's Roddy Rowdy Piper. Mm-hmm. I can see, baby.
Yeah. You see,
and they just don't like someone like me, a breakaway to live in a counterculture and a breakaway citizen or breakaway culture is the same difference, because you're living in parallel, but you're not adhering to them. So you've at some point become an outlaw, or you're pushing the limits, which is what corporations do all the time. It's just good business, because the corporations understand the law so good that they will fuck everything. They will push the limit. They will use fucking, intrigue and sabotage and subversion through Coca-Cola to take over company, or Pepsi. We'll use Pepsi to take over the world, baby.
Yeah. It's easy for them to just take what exists from the minds of artists and then put it into some kind of predictable format so that it plays the game.
Well, the reading and the writing too, yeah. So it's really good. But everything was written, everything was created, everything was engineered by somebody who knew what they were doing. I think that's one of the things that really set me free, was stop letting them be the agency. I just took over my own agency. I said, I know what's going on here. And one of the things I was given about 3 or 4 years ago, a disgruntled Mason gave me access to a library, an untouched library of over 100 years of newsprint and magazines, untouched. So we're going back to the late 1800s, all through the 1900s, untouched for a couple of weeks. So I just went and started reading things just to see the propaganda, because I knew what the Jesuit socialist Marxists had taught me in the public school, and it was all bullshit, just like I'd seen them lie in court. Just like I knew in the 90s, they didn't arrest the pedophiles or the pig farm Picton fucking, Trudeau goofs. And then in the 70s and 80s, And then in the 90s, they lied about all of the wars to do their forever war shit. And then they brought down the buildings, which controlled demolition. And then they lied about the bankers. And then they bail out the people. And then they lie about the pandemic and yada, yada, yada. And here we are now all with the lies. So it's all lies all the time. And I'd be pretty stupid to trust somebody. So now you just play the Jesuit theater, which is you smile and wave and you just don't engage with them. But because you know that they're playing this, their hypocrisy knows no bounds. Well, we can both play theater. And the only rules you would have to adhere to is really what the open market does, which is what we're doing by being independent and me not being run by BlackRock or General Electric, but still me knowing that you owning the device and you playing the music still generates the royalties. So they have to pay me for my artist thing, but I don't have a middleman and I never signed my publishing away. Let's talk about Michael Jackson and other people like that, and Quincy Jones, because of what the real racket was and how they turn people out, right? So, yeah, there you go. So, anyways, they don't like it when people like me know and I can do things independently because that's why we're doing this. We're making music and I can sing a song that they would not allow out. I can say trigger words that they wouldn't allow out. So we're using that Saturnalia. If the CIA and the MK Ultras and the Jesuit Marxists created this thing, well, now I've just taken over the office of the Wizard of Oz and said, we'll do it our way. It's Nosferatu. And because you insult Hecate, I'm going to let Hecate do what she wants. And she says black arrows black in the sky.
Yeah, exactly. Hail Hecate. And that's why I don't think any of us here right now want that. We don't want that. We want the good stuff. We want the real stuff. We want the art that comes from the heart and from the soul with purpose.
Right. So I get to do it. So we're providing a service, which even if it's a subgenre of a horror flick of a music, but Ramel Z said the music came last to what the kids were doing. What people think is hip hop and popular art now, music was last. It was the visual art, the street dancing, and then they created the art. And by 1972, everything that we think is entertainment was already done. And so even what he was doing in the late 70s when they created the hip hop, he said that was them trying to understand what the streets did, or you know what I mean, before the Eminems and the NWAs and the CIA turned it into getting you to sell cocaine for the government so they can put you in jail in their private jails where they make money off you being in jail, and they sell you the lifestyle in the music, that really bad sociopathic gangster drug addict stuff where you're not even a gangster, you're just a socialist, like sociopathic fucking leech that kills your own children and ruins everything, and you sell cocaine all day, but that just pays the CIA, who's actually your handlers, and you're just a fucking idiot, and you make everything worse, and you kill all these women and children. So you actually do like the Mengele, like Nazi fucking shit for them willfully. All this shit. It's insane. And it was such a good program. Like, look at how strong they're like, oh, crack cocaine, but just give it to the cocaine, all these drugs. And if you don't think that they knew that that's what they were doing, then you are incorrect. The government was so mad that people would not do what they wanted them to do during the beat revolution. And then the hippies, that they said, well, if they won't do what we want them to do, we will sell them what they will do, which is drugs and the party life. And so they took it over. They took all over everything. And now they sell it to you, and then they get you to do this thing where we are now, where why doesn't anyone talk the truth about 9/11 or Epstein or all this other fucking nonsense? It's fucking ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm. I blame Rudolf Steiner for a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? Kind of like set the ball in motion on a lot of that.
I'll take my sunglasses off so we can.
Yeah, why not?
Person, everybody.
Yeah, why not?
It's all good. But we have lots of stuff to talk to.
Wants to be a cat, because the cat's the only cat that knows where it's at.
There you go, correct. Right? But we just thanks for asking all the questions, and I'll just try and explain the best what I do and where I'm coming from and why I do it and why the Saturnalia is high and Hecate is high, right? Like even today, the word cabaret, I was like, oh, that the etymology in that is great because the Scythian, Skuta wasn't the Khan, the Ba, what they call Egyptian, the spirit and the soul. And we all have a spirit, but not everyone earns their soul. And then the ray, and I thought about that. So the cabaret, just the breakdown of it to cabaret, which is to sing and dance, the action of it all. So I thought all those words have to be etymologically connected, especially Ra too, Ray, the sun god, where we get the word ray from, to shine, right? So, but I love how English, the conjured language of Dr. John Dee and Kelly can allow you to understand many other languages like Greek and Sanskrit phonetically. If you listen, if you have ears to hear, you can hear what the words mean. So I like that understanding. And it shows that the magic is there, that the words are there for you to understand. And if the reading, because the more you read, I encourage people to read and write. Strong magic. But the more you read, you'll free yourself. And it is, the Jesuits have put so much fucking like needle in a haystack. There's so much hay in the stack to find a needle.
Yeah.
But you use your own discerning thing. And it's very much choose your own adventure. So whatever you make your idol, whatever you focus your attention on, whether it's Stockholm syndrome or beliefs or give your agency away, that will become your reality. And that's what I see so many people give themselves over and become something they don't like. But it's, at some point they let themselves go there, or they became that thing by giving over their agencies and their securities.
You know what I mean?
So anyways, go on. What, do we have more questions, or am I just babbling on? That's all right.
You're doing beautiful. We're just hanging out. This is a rare opportunity, and we're just going to cheers, everybody. We're going to get in it. I have one for you from Taz. And it says, finish this statement. If AI is the new deadlights, Pennywise is the blank, blank, blank question mark.
So AI is the deadlights. Okay. And Pennywise would then be, Pennywise is going to be more like Max Headroom, I guess. It's going to definitely be something, and we're going to be coming out because it's a lot of angles. And so me even doing the It and Pennywise thing is very much because there was a whole bunch of clown serial killers in where I grew up around, and kids did go missing in the 80s and the 90s. The Picton Pig Farm was famous, and we delivered beer there. The Riverview Insane Asylum is there. People have cholorophobia. When I took DMT, I saw the relationship between Pharaoh and people's fear of clowns. The last time I asked for an art grant, or I applied for an art grant through the Canadian Art Council, it was because you have to send them like an essay thesis, all this shit. It was just to research Magic Lanterna, like the Delphi Oracle, although they don't like it that I call it like that, TV. Cholorophobia, people's fear of clowns, and Pharaoh. And I'm pretty sure that went right to the never give this kid even 2 pennies, because they do not want to know the correlations between all of those connections.
That's layered magic too.
Yeah, and well, that's the whole thing, because I see it clear as day once I, Eamon and Chewy, Lady Babylon helped me understanding that the drug was really the thing, the drug culture and its control, its usage, through the compound drugs, alchemy, and then understanding what all of the sciences, what they would call like the satanics, the fallen angels, the ways of the fallen angels, when they taught people to fashion weapons and how to wage war, which of course is consumerism, and of course is houses and all that. Because if you're living in the trees, you don't need a fucking mansion. So the whole idea is to go and fashion cars and houses, and then all the other people in the trees go, well, why don't I go and live like that motherfucking guy? And then you get them to come out of the trees, and then you get them to go and have real Stockholm syndrome, which is where you'll go and give your kids over to me, and they'll go fight wars that are actually to harm them in the long run. And I'll murder your children in a very weird way. So, and that's what you see nowadays is the insanity, and it's called normalization of complacency. And you'll see some of the heavy Marine guys and stuff say, if you vary from a minute, like if you say I'll sight my rifle in 2 days instead of keeping it ready, and you get called out, you're not ready. So that's normalization of complacency, which is the famous one they did about 3 years ago. A bunch of kids, they're on a crane tower. It was only about maybe 14 or 15 stories high, so I don't even think it was 200 feet high. And they went in on a Saturday, so everyone was probably drinking, and probably a lot of the guys were doing cocaine and stayed up all night. And they're supposed to unerect the tower. And it's basically like it's a little sleeve thing, right? And you pull one section out and you sleeve it. But the tower is counterbalanced. So the guys on Instagram Live, a bunch of the guys are not wearing their PPE, and the tower goes like this, and because there's ballast, and they didn't have the ballast, and you just see the tower shear. Boom. And another person in the building across the way was in the office working overtime on Saturday, got killed. And these guys, and it was another thing where there's probably somebody wants to be in a gang or a union gang or some things that are gangsters, and they got their kids doing this because that's how they got awarded the contract through the government to actually be doing the building. So it's all a big grift. Everyone's reaping the money. And then 4 or 5 kids all die. One kid was on one of the support beams and shimmied back to his life. So there was a couple people lived. But like I said, he was filming on, and so we all talk that like that is the beyond normalization of complacency. How the fuck? First of all, you didn't even have your body harness on. A lot of those people lived. They would just been dangling in the air, but they would have lived. And so you see this today with society, with people being absolutely reckless abandon involved in consumerism and materialism, and believing the fucking television news channels. It's Jesuit theater, people. It's fucking fake. It's just 1984. They're just lying to you about everything. Grow some tomatoes and cucumbers. Have a salad.
At some point, suffering became so intolerable that we are not allowed any of it. Like even the slightest discomfort is like panic screeching through the streets.
And that is the Jesuits turning us all into our own petty little tyrants. We've all become these narcissist little things, and we all think we're socialists or communists or whatever the fucking these people are on fucking Marxist Kool-Aid shit. But they actually don't care about the actual human condition. And that's why The Man Who Laughs is so funny, because you can see Victor Hugo writing about this 3 centuries ago about human, the war and the war on the plague, and then the plague on famine, and then the famine on the people, and all this, and why the human condition is so, and why he says that death is a deliverance for so many of these creatures, because they're just fucking on this broken fucking chain, and they just fucking give over to it. So not much has changed for the phantom grinding machine in the past 3 decades, at least.
Yeah. Okay, everybody's talking about pickles, Teddy. I don't know why, but let's figure out if we have another question up here that I missed.
I like pickles.
I saw something. Oh gosh, do I love pickles.
They call me extra pickles at work because I would ask for extra pickles on the stuff.
Gotta have them.
Because a lot of guys have same names and stuff or whatever. We don't know each other, so people just have call names.
Do you do ironworking, or is it something else? I have a friend out there who does ironworking. Just curious.
Yeah, I've done superstructure work like that, but mostly I was doing glazing work. So I would do rope access, or we'd do crane access, and we'd be just doing the exterior on superstructures, or I'd be going in and fixing things, because a lot of buildings are done where someone just passes someone an envelope full of money, and the occupancy gets allowed, and then later they find out that there's huge problems with buildings, and then they need people to go in and do very dangerous work and confined access or sort of dangerous places.
Tight spaces.
Yeah, exactly. And go and do stuff where people weren't engineered to go in there, and now they have to go and remove, a big part of an engine or a piece of equipment, or go in and or change or do upgrades or install something because this wasn't, and now for it to have its building occupancy, and now it's all being done. And basically, it's like lots of money passing over, and then someone, I got to go put a stupid piece of fucking rubber in somewhere, or because the people are so cheap and there's more money on it, like on the Shangri-La at 720 feet. Instead of buying a crane that's rated for 100 years, they bought a crane that's rated for 30 years. So 3 times every century, they have to actually remove the crane and bring in a new crane. And that's military helicopters and all this type of shit to fuck it. There's nothing in town that can bring these things in. And of course, then you have to have people maintenance it, and nobody does that right. And it's all Mickey Mouse. I don't know if you guys have to be in big engineering shit like that, but the lockouts and the signing off on this, the insurance of it all, because people die and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I got away from all that because I don't trust people, and people would set me up for failure or put me in dangerous situations. A lot of times with people who are not qualified to be there, or would set us up for failure because of equipment or other things not being in the right place. All just to grift money. This is all just so that these people, these controllers, can be reaping millions and millions of dollars, so they don't give a shit about you doing the work, right?
Of course.
And my problem was that I was such a good worker, I never realized why I'd never get promoted, or I just get asked to do very dangerous work, is because I was too good of a worker. I was too good of a contractor, so they could never give me an executive administrative job because the other people can't do the work. You know what I mean? So that's why I said, fuck you to them. I said, I'm leaving. And instead of spending my money on drugs and fucking partying all the time, I went and made records. Ha ha.
Nice. Well, that leads us into another question we have in the chat from Pixie Moss, who says, Teddy, what's your writing process like? I'm laughing at myself. Sorry. I write music.
Go ahead. There's
Okay,
more of the question. Okay.
Yeah, there's more. I'm just laughing at myself. What's your writing process like? I write music, but I'm super slow at it. I'm really curious about the artists that can write prolifically. So for me, she says, or they say, I get really lost in the process of writing each song. So the journey can take months to a time. What's it like for you writing music?
Well, that's cool. I'm really glad you're an artist. Keep doing it. And so I've been writing since I was in high school, where I was actively writing. And what I learned to do was always keep a pen and paper around me, because even when I was working, I would take notes. So I was doing a form of cut up, William S. Burroughs, description, and how these guys talk about cut up and beat poetry before I even knew what it was, because I just by taking notes. And this Aleister Crowley says writing is a very form of strong magic. So I was doing this without actually understanding the verb of doing the action is very important. So I would keep notes, and then I would do what Burroughs would say is the editing of the cut up, which is I would edit on the fly, or I would edit, or I would re-edit. Sometimes I wanted my rhymes to be perfect, because at the times, okay, so I was in death metal bands and stuff, and we got to be on the Pepsi Power Hour, and the drummer was so fucking drunk, they couldn't play the fucking songs. And like, we got the free opportunity of our lives, like the fucking 90s, right? And the older kids let us come in and do it, right? I had a 7-string guitar Ibanez. We were playing like death metal before death metal was big. And then we got into some other bigger bands, and 4 or 5 guys. A lot of these guys come from well-to-do houses, and I realized that trying to get 5 guys to agree on fucking the time of day was a nightmare, let alone fucking getting any fucking work done. So we were going to pay $500 a day to go in the studio, and we're going to fucking argue about shit. Get your fucking shit together. So I'd get my fucking rhymes together and shit, because I'm paying $500 a day. But I was smart, because I learned how to use computers in 92 or 93, and I knew the software because I was shown in grade 11 digital a digital audio workstation software. So when I went into the studios, because they were already going from analog to digital by the early 90s, I knew the software they were using, and I would see after 2 or 3 times of paying their fucking engineers and the studio and watching how fucking the engineers was like watching paint dry. I said, I'll engineer myself. So I just make deals with the owners. And they're like, really? You don't need an engineer? I'm like, I'll do it myself. I can run computers. And, they didn't trust me at first, but then they're like, people will come in and go, who is the kid running all the fucking, who's running the console gear? And then he's going and doing the recording and stuff. So, some people paid attention to what I was actually doing, regardless of the content. They're like, who is this kid? Because I would just go and do it, right? So I would get my lyrics together because I was paying money to be in a studio. So I'd have all my songs ready, and I'd do all of my post-production as fast as I could. That's the old way I used to have to do it, just to execute it, to go in when I'm paying that 12 hours to get as much done recording. And you got to remember at the time, to bounce down the songs, the processing took rendering a song was like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, like fucking.
It was like video.
Oh, and all this, because the crunching of the processing power and all the shit in the fucking late 90s and 2000s, everything was way different. Now, boom, our processors and all the things just, people don't understand how it took to do this stuff, time on the clock. So anyways, I do now far more editing. So like this, anyways, this is actually less lyrics than it took to do Nosferatu. But I've got this. This is the other lyrics. So this is just the lyrics I have just ready to go.
Wow.
So this is like Naked Lunch times 2. Burroughs would say, how much is this? So if we can go through this, if this amount is just one record, then that's probably like 10 records worth of lyrics. Just ready to go through. That's just because I've always, and I can't, and when I'm doing those lyrics, I will be writing new stuff because I got blank paper. I'll be editing on the fly. And I'll be working off it. So very much, what would you call, almost cut up method, writing just like William S. Burroughs and Hunter S. Thompson do by, absorbing what's around you. And then also editing on the fly. So that's a form of like ciphering, freestyle, just freestyle editing. Even on real time, sometimes I will edit right on the take. So that's how much it's morphed. It morphs from doing something to now where even every day I just keep blank paper next to me because I'll end up writing the notes down and taking down information and stuff. So that's the process. Is that the correct sort of like, was that the question of the process? The process is mad cut up now, super cut up, because Burroughs say all these different things is different forms of cut up. Yeah. And now I've got lots of ammo. Like I got the fucking tank full because Ram LZ always called it the tank, right? Or the art headquarters, which was his bunker. He called it the bunker. It was his military bunker where he was generating the art all the time. Always just grinding out art all day.
There's different energy types too, though. You know what I mean? Like your energy type is very clearly like a motor type. You're literally a verb. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I practice that. And I've learned to do that because that's another thing is, are you alive or dead? Because if the drugs of the dead was only just to relax, look at materialism to everyone to sit back. Before it would be like, well, why would you even want to do that? If you're doing a thing, why don't you grow some weed or some tomatoes? What do you like? Because come wintertime, people just wouldn't understand this whole, the narcissism of the materialist person lazing around all the time. And I know that's part of the cult of personality of the materialism is that we don't do things. But normally the creature would be like, that's not even fun for me. At least I'd be painting or doing something. So I just do stuff all the time, right? So I encourage you to do stuff. But we've been taught, like the grasshoppers in the glass, is to not jump. When you tell people you can jump as far as you want, the only thing that's stopping you is your limitations. And don't go kill yourself. That's the only thing my grandpa said. You can do what you want, just don't kill yourself. Just don't fucking get hurt.
It's almost overwhelming to have too many options too. It's like really a key part of a creative process for that type of overwhelm. Just like start small and do one thing imperfectly.
Exactly,
just
right?
keep
'Cause
it going.
I escaped from the maze of the Jesuit Marxism, right? Like that's how, I practice. So even when I was all right, Mr. Little Teddy Bass was like 8 years old in somewhere like grade 1 or grade 2. And my mom always wanted me to be a rock and roller. And the math teacher said, "What are you going to be?" I said, I'm going to be a rock and roller. I was like, listen to some stupid shit like Aerosmith or Bon Jovi or some stupid shit that the girls that got me listen. And he goes, "You'll never be able to do that. Not unless you get a producer. Like, shut me down, made me feel real bad. You're an 8-year-old fucking kid. Why the fuck did you make an 8-year-old kid bad?" I fucking, for years later, I'm a teenager. I'm like, I'm going to fucking punch that guy out. All this type of shit. Years later, I go and see him. Well, he's fucking just this little tiny fucking dude. And I'm like, how did I fucking let this guy get on top of me? But I took it to heart, and I never signed a shitty contract. I always go, I'll just go pay for the fucking studio. I don't care if I don't have distribution. I'll just record the record. What the fuck do I care? And like Metallica went from grassroots fans anyways. You know what I mean? There are bands that really got big and famous just because people liked it too. So
yeah.
Anyways, I never let it kill the little kid in me either. But that's another part is don't let them kill you. Don't let them tell you take away your magic. That's one of the real tricks they do on you, right? So
Well, yeah, and one of the things that we're really talking about at its core is how we access divinity, how we become a channel to receive the force for creation so we can be inspired and put pen to paper, and to find that inspiration really deeply and learn how to acknowledge when it arises so that you can really tune into it and execute. I feel like we're so distracted. Like we get the spark to initiate, but it's so much easier to like give my attention and my money and my love to something else rather than putting it into me and my creative process. You know what I mean? So really,
well, I think that's where I say I'm trying to be like true to respect Medea, respect the lovely ladies and all the badass chickadees that raised me, and respect Hecate, which is what I see a lot of what's going on is disrespect to Hecate and disrespect to the mystery of Babylon, Lady Babylon, because they're taking it and they're selling the facsimile, they're selling the bullshit. And like you said, so it's however you understand the creator, and so it's to learn to read and write so you can describe that. There is a part to the art that you have to educate yourself enough to be able to document it. And then it's, if you understand the creator, why go to church? Why have a third party? I don't need someone to supposedly talk to their fake gods to tell me or whatever. I got to pay a fee. Well, if there's a creator, I'll talk to the creator directly. I don't need a third party, but I encourage other people that to, if you can perceive the creator or whatever it is that constitutes you, because you're more than just the human artifact Marxist condition that they've taught you in their little indoctrination school.
Indoctrination.
You know what I mean? And that's so but yeah, if you have a relationship with the creator, then that's it. And if you can describe that and you can communicate with what you call, because I don't like the word God, especially not in a Jesuit Catholic sense. I like the word creator, or that which constitutes you, and using it more in an action capacity, like a verb, that it's doing something. It's not this far inanimate fucking archetypal thing. It's doing something, just like you're doing something. It's here now. Like in the Sanskrit, God's breathing with you right here, this close. So it's sort of like being close to the elephant, but can you describe it? But you're not far from the creator. You're one with the creator. So it's a different form where again, that's just turning away. The Marxists are really good just for you to look away so you forget you're part of the creation, or forget that you're alive, or forget that. No, they want you to be in the material condition and believe in their bullshit Jesuit theater.
For it being literally right in front of our faces at all times, it's crazy how easy it is for a lot of people to just completely be oblivious to that.
Well, they're distracted. Yes, the Loki god, the trickster god too, right? But that's, again, if you lose focus because they want to believe the fairy tale to be the lie, right? Instead of knowing, or to be, another, my confidence is because I know stuff, because I've done it. I've been there. I've flown hundreds and hundreds of times. I've gone and done the dangerous work hundreds and hundreds of times. There's no one can tell me any bullshit third-hand information from television, come and laugh at you. They'll go, okay. What I'm going to know is that you're an idiot, and I'll know that you're controlled by them. That's strong magic, but I'll know you don't know the truth. and I won't trust you. I won't have you anywhere around me or anybody I want to be safe. Nope. Yeah. 500 meters from the kids, you over there.
Other side of the street with you.
Yeah, over there. Not to be trusted.
I hear you. Okay, I'm going to check for some more questions because I know somewhere.
Cool. We can give them the kiss of poisons, and we can sort of go on because you had a little thing you discussed in one of the emails you sent me, and that's why I wrote the little notes so we can go over. Oh, we'll go through why turning left and the Saturnalia of Teddy Bass, the name. So Idris Shah is a writer, a Sufi writer. Everyone should read Idris Shah. It'll do you good. He has a pseudonym called Arkan Draoul. And if you guys know anything about Islam, is it's left to right or right to left, right? So everything again is using this backwards stuff. And again, a lot of languages is sort of one of these. What do they call this? Reverse. There's a term for it as well. But this is called turning left. So when people are turning right, if you're turning left, this would be a form of Saturnalia. It's also a way to obscure magic. So you just take a word and you turn it around, and now it becomes a hidden word because you've just flipped it. And we're doing Apocalypse now. We're unveiling Kali. So Teddy Bass, pronounced backwards as Sabbath. Sabbath. So that's why I chose that as my performer name, because it's the Sabbath. And what Sabbath we're doing? We're doing the Black Sabbath. So it's an action thing. So Sabbath. And then so when you go through the movies, where did the character come from? Because before I used to go by just my real name, and then I would do the reference to different characters, but I hadn't chosen my moniker in the 90s and stuff, right? So it wasn't in 2000-ish somewhere I chose Teddy Bass. But that's the reason. So because it's backwards, and that's Saturnalia, so it's magic, and we're invoking all of these things when we do it because that's the ritual. So it's practical magic. And a lot of people don't understand what we're doing, but that's all it is. So practical magic. We're doing the Sabbath. And the Sabbath is an attitude, not an occasion. Dr. Gene Scott, this is actual what they're doing. And because it's the mystery or whatever, we're moving the bigger bodies, right? So like in the line Undead Vampire, the book How to Control the Cosmos Without Anybody Noticing It Much, right? That's what a witch does. It's cloud busting. And while everyone, and they don't even know, they're so involved in their Marxist Jesuit Saturnalia, they don't even notice that you're just you're talking with Saturn and Urania and the bigger, and Venus, the bigger bodies. And that's what it's, so it's practical magic. We're doing it. And because, like the first record I did was Beelzebub's Verses, tribute to Saturnalia and Gurdjieff, obviously, and that maybe Satan's the good guy and that God's the bad guy, like the Screw Tape Letters. So I was always doing this sort of juxtaposed Saturnalia thing, even from the beginning, of just sort of like saying, well, what if we've been taken for a ride, before I understood the drug complex of it, of how much the Rome is actually the drugs. Like, are you on fucking drugs or not? Right? That's really what it is. And they control people through different drugs, through the sports, right? Because that was the Colosseum. So through football, beer and bread, and then through the drinking water. Why do they want everything with the fluoride and the heavy? And then they want you to go to see the Delphi Oracle, the theater, to be programmed. And then because your pineal gland is atrophied, you'll just you think, yeah, I want to be that character, and you go along with the stuff a lot. But yeah, it's using the old magic and the drugs, and it's still the old drug cults, right? So before I even understood that, but now it makes so much sense in understanding the entertainment culture of the 80s, the analog entertainment culture, and what I grew up around, right? So rock and roll, the old theater.
Okay, I've got a question from Mandy Moorhall for you.
Okay. What's up, Mandy?
How many penises does Cerberus have?
Zebras have, fuck, I don't know, 6? 7? Is this a trick question? I don't know. He knows how many. Too many. I've got Santa Claus bag full of them. What does Cerberus do? What is the Greek tale? You got to refresh me. Does anyone have what's the Greek tale? What is he doing? Because it's all based on action. Even like all of the Greek tales, I think it's based on action, and it's painted in a Renaissance way, so that you see it in a Garden of Eden way. But if you look at it just based on actions, you can see the scientifics of what it's doing in a steampunk Atlantis risen sort of way, that there was actual technology, right? So
Is Cerberus the hound hell, or is Cerberus the medieval, we're talking about mindset, that medieval mindset version of Hecate, the demonization?
mm-hmm. Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah, to turn it into the pejorative, very much so. You would see those things. So that would probably have to do with the secret, because Scuta, Scythia, they had old and Medea, like in the garden, she was secreting the venom from the animals because they were in pain because no one would be basically like secreting them. So she'd go around and collect all the viper venom as well as the mushrooms, and all the warrior men would go to like the Scuta thing, and they would masturbate or be masturbated by their ladies, and they would collect all the semen, and that was part of the secreting. And so the Cerberus, this whole idea, especially to keep your warriors happy, like good warriors, so they would have a harem, and the Chickadees would make sure these guys are ready to go fucking chop heads off tomorrow. Because if all they needed was someone to fucking make sure they got jerked off a little bit here or there and they were happy, then fucking keep our warriors happy, especially because we got to go make sure they got to go do some work tomorrow. And a lot of the Chickadees were more than happy with that anyways. So you got to understand they're doing it. Plus, they're collecting the venoms, they're making the drugs, they're making the compound drugs. They're using the maidens. Some of the women are doing like we discuss, where they're the Medusas, or they're actually the active drug. Their body is, they're making like they're an active science project. Like some of the women are actively making drugs with their inside their bodies, right? But yeah, I see it much more as like that, and everyone's living in harmony though. And a lot of people, like, instead of you going, okay, by a government you hate, you're going to go die in some fucking war you have nothing to do from, and then we're going to kill your kids. Some people go, I'm going to devote myself to be the drug, or I'll devote myself to be the priestess oracle, and they were happy with that. So I see it more of a society of being in harmony than of debauchery or darkness. But yeah, the black ideas in this, the Hecate, because Hecate is unknown. I'd like to spell Hecate with a K, because I like to fucking put the sex magic in motherfucking people's faces. But Hecate is with a C because she is the unknown, and she is the big witch goddess of the sky. She is the umbrella, the darkness of the sky. She is, Urania. She is the firmament. And if you listen to her, she whispers to you, but she's very, very strong and powerful, right? And to understand this aspect of the witch, but she's illuminated. She's not darkness like people think of void. But she glows a different color because you're blind. The Comprachicos, one of the tricks they did to the people is they made it so you only see a certain frequency of light. This is one of the tricks they did to the human condition. And it made it so that your creators can run around with like spacesuits and you can't see them, very much like they're watching you right now. But if you could see the full color spectrum, you would see Hecate is very busy. The cosmos is busy all the time, and she listens to you. But one of the tricks when they modified the DNA of the humans was they limited your ability to see light, which you see a lot of greens. But now that I know what the Comprachicos were up to, and that they did go and manipulate all of humankind's DNA, whether they liked it or not, that I can see part of the tricks. Go ahead.
Have you heard of the oh man, Matt Apocalypse is going to kill me if I can't pronounce this properly. The Denisovians, or Denis, it's the type of people with a specific type of DNA that potentially could have been like origin DNA before this event. Denisovians? Gosh, sorry, Matt, butchering it.
So yeah, Philip K. Dick calls it, that whatever the in his thing when the system gets shut down, right, or whatever, when the entire grid falls down, sort of blackout. But I consider that sort of like Medea taking away the sun chariot, sort of turning the power off on the switch, or a reset, and then them not knowing how to turn it on because their normalization and complacency is they didn't understand how the system worked. So, it's like taking out a simple piece of Lego. But if you don't understand how it works, like the chakras, then you just don't know how it works.
It just takes one piece.
And all it takes is one piece. And because through your ignorance, you forgot to address what really was happening. So now you don't even know the engineering behind it. So isn't that a trick too? Because you fucking hurt so many kids and you fucked around, you dissed Medea and you fucked over Hecate. It only took 20 years and you guys didn't even know. And now it all becomes mumbo jumbo in science. And you think people are witches because they understand what, vibration and sound and actual physics. Remember, a lot of people work off Marxist physics, like Jesuit physics, so they don't even know. They have artifacts of the technology in front of them, but they have absolutely no idea how it works. But they're slaves to it. But there is the technology is hidden right in front of you. Free technology, everything's free. They just fashion it to you. Pardon me?
Free Black Mirror, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's even the technology. So the Oracle, and before all these things, because it was radio waves, it was provided as a public service. So they took away everything and then charged you what used to be provided for free.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you like that? You want some more of that?
Yeah, you want some more of that?
Well, exactly. It's getting hard to provide that for you. We might have to start charging you.
You might have to, and then you'll have to go and do what we say because you won't dance high enough. So if you start dancing high enough, I'll give you credits, and then you can have your phone back.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, the way the wheel shifts.
Am I still? Okay. Can you still see me there?
Yeah, we can see you and hear you.
Cool. I'm just going to check the thing because I had it off. So we'll talk about some stuff like horror films. So we talked about Vampirella, Elvira, and Morticia. And I super duper love the Mortician at the wheel type of things. And the whole sort of, goth type of chickadea with the long, the cat woman too, right? With the long nails, and it's all very seductive and it's very cortisone because all it takes is she doesn't even need to bone you. All she needs to do is just touch you on the side. It's very intimate. And all of a sudden you've squirted in your pants and you just think it's the best thing ever. You've gone to, dinner with her and you're just like, wow, that was great. And that's all it really takes. A lot of people don't think it's not that down and dirty stuff. You ever watch too much porn and shit, right? But that also shows how desensitized. Like I was in death metal bands. Those guys, they started sleeping with each other's girlfriends to the point where they're sleeping with each other, with the girlfriends. I'm like, okay, guys, if you're rubbing dicks together, you're kind of gay. I'm just saying. It's no big deal. But I just want you guys to know you're a little desensitized there, boys. And now they had to like cut themselves and like do drugs and like masturbate to this weird shit just to get off. I'm like, you guys are so desensitized, man. It's a little bad. Chickadees be like, can you jerk off in front of me? Be like, sure. She's like, great, that's great, because I don't like if guys don't know how to come or whatever, like, are you still there? Can you still make love to a woman? Do you have to have like
That's real though. That really happens to
a lot of them. Only you see guys because too they take the steroids and shit and their dinks don't work, or guys and they take the Viagra, and they see so much because a lot of it's can you perform in that moment of intimacy. But then everything and all the things, and a lot of times, so some of the girls were escorts, their biggest clients were super duper rich guys that just want to be put in like diapers and whipped or just treated like badly or something in a weird way. There's not even touching a lot of times. So, and that's very interesting. And these people, these wealthy people live in a sexless life, in a sexless relationship, in an unhappy life. So like our one of our mottos, our little magic is to be happy and healthy and hydrated is actually part of the magic. It's just doing those or allowing you to be there because only you can control that. Nobody really can control that.
Yeah. It's about taking some responsibility and accountability, damn it.
If you want to be happy, if you want to be a
About.
fucking miserable fuck, that's fine. But
If you want to be happy,
well,
three
is
simple
that your
things.
programming though? Did they tell you that? Because the guy, so when I had to go and my mom's funeral before we cremated her, the guy before the funeral director said, "Well, the dude come in and he wanted one song played. Is take this job and shove it." And I thought, holy fuck, if that's the fucking end of me, like, come on, you got the thing. It's like, but there you go. That's some people's thing. So, but was he brainwashed into doing that? Did he give himself over? Come here, the kitty's crying everywhere.
Oh man.
Oh, what's going on? Oh, it's Garfield. Come and say hello.
Who is it?
It's Garfield. He's just meeping all he wants his friends. He's hanging out with the cats. Come here.
Gets lasagna.
I'm not playing this
foil.
game. Back and forth. Him and the little kittens, the Witches Kitties Quartets, are like best buds now, and they're just running crazy. And because it's raining and it's sunny, they're crazy because the static electro field. So they're like,
That's real.
What's going on? Garfield's talking all the time, and he just wants to go and play. They have they're just doing like a race car circuit downstairs because I got the big floor open. I just have tables set up where I do the filming different sets that you guys see on the thing. It's just set up down there, right? So, but yeah, so let's get it. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Teddy.
So we're doing more Hollywood intrigue. We're talking about the intrigue and the heavy stuff. So the witches and the rock and roll. A lot of witches made rock and roll. I think we know that, right? You see, all the witches made the rock and roll happen. What is the term of the rock and roll? Even rock and roll itself was, to have a good rock and roll, right? So
rock and roll was just sex magic anyway. Rock and roll was literally sex magic.
It's like a take cabaret, right? Exactly. So it's just another way. It's a play on words, right? Mm-hmm. And if you knew, it was just having a good time, right? Or
like for TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But and to be a rock and roller and all that type of stuff was to be an outlaw or to again, because the church couldn't control that. So a lot of the guys, because I delivered bootleg beer 25, 30 years ago, and the end all be all that was because people would literally sell enough beer on football Sunday to buy a house. We'd have semi trucks. We'd buy semi trucks full of beer and sell beer bootleg that the government had to allow liquor stores to be open Saturday and Sunday. And that was all just the church and the state colluding that you could only do business from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. So that's the church and the government in collusion, right? Then they opened up so that, you could open up the liquor store till 9 p.m., right? But that's because people being like, well, what do people want? Well, they're going to watch football. They need beer. Well, they ran out of beer because they drank all their beer on Friday night. Well, we can make money. And while we can't make much money, well, no, we're going to go buy the beer right from Molson. We're going to go buy it right from Budweiser. I get called to my friends. There's a semi-truck full of beer coming. You have to put it somewhere. We'd have our fucking, you know what I mean? So the dudes would have the things. And again, because I didn't do coke and I had a driver's license, I would get asked to do because so many people would fuck up. And so you'd sell your booze all day and night, and I'd show up with the money. Here's another thing. People don't show up with the fucking money. But I'm just a little kid too, just asked to do. But that's the type we saw. So end all be all is the state trying to run everything creates opportunities for other people. Now what's happening in Canada? Gambling's legal. The beer and wine store is open from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. And they still sell bootleg beer because people still need beer at 2 a.m. because they still drink all their fucking beer. So all these so the government and the church trying to run everybody doesn't actually do any good. You should just let it open market and you should keep it safe. That's why illegal drugs are stupid. You should just make them prohibited or restricted, but you should give people facilitated so it's not dangerous where little girls and boys are going and selling their ass or fucking robbing each other and killing each other so they can get some drugs and shit, Yeah. Because they just turn you out. That's called turning you out. That's called pimping. If you didn't know, the government likes to pimp you a lot.
They do like to pimp them out.
That's what Iceberg Slim wrote a book. He said, every relationship is pimping and hoeing. It's just, you got to understand that. So stop giving your agency over to these people and stop being the hoe in the relationship. Be your own pimp. I'd be my own best pimp and my own best hoe. And I fucking went and put records out for you to listen to. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what Sugar Slim taught me to do.
Nice. Well, I'll go ahead and ask you another question, Teddy, because I have a lot of them.
Go ahead. Yeah, and I got other stuff to say. Go ahead, right on.
Okay.
I hope people are watching. I'm not even paying attention to anyone. Shout out to everyone. Thanks for watching, everybody.
So I've got some from email. I don't know if BugFX is still here, but I've got questions from BugFX.
Sure.
I'm going to see if you already answered. Okay, so part of this question you haven't really totally addressed, and it's something that I guess I was kind of curious about too. Like, do you feel that repeating similar phrases is obviously a type of like spell casting and a part of your creative process?
100%. So what we're doing is we're doing practical magic, and I'm doing exactly what the CIA does. Is I'm doing mind control, right? But I'm providing a different platform or just an alternative choice. So we're doing things that's taboo, but we want you to be celebrated where you're celebrated. So we say Hail Satan here because a lot of people hate the fucking church for numerous reasons. We're just giving you an opportunity, and they don't like it because they want to control all the rackets. So they want you to go to their Jesuit, Satanism and their fucking bullshit, which I don't want nothing to do with, right? So we're trying to respect Hecate. We're trying to respect Medea. And forgive me, I lost my mind. So go back to what the question was again.
Where is my mind? It's a type of ritual spell casting. That's what we were talking about.
Right, no, coach. No, I got you. So we're forgive me for losing the place. KISS, KISS, the keep it simple, stupid, right? So we're using catchphrases. But if you notice in media, they'll use the same words. So I'm saying Medea. I'm saying Hecate. I'm saying Satan over and over again, trying not to be too repetitive. You know what I mean? But it is choruses. So I'm making it singing, songy, and using the muse to do it because that's what the living in your mind rent free, or what some people call mind worms, where you'll think of the song where you don't hear it because it's melodic. You hear the melody and then it makes you. So we're doing that magic. I'm doing the spell casting and the Wizard of Oz, the George Orwell stuff. It's just we're using horrorcore and what I like to, my favorite things that I liked and making it into this character and this I guess what you would call this sort of entertainment theater here, where we have all these different characters. It's very horror film-esque, but and I try to make it very visual with my words, so that if you have an imagination to see, you can see what I'm saying, make it very visual. But I want it to be so there's a little bit of making it catchy and saying the same thing, but also using the cut-up method to say the same thing in a different way, or to chop up words and then they mean different things. Because a word means three things. It means the word before it and after it, and it also means two different things and however you apply it. So in that sense, I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I want to make it interesting. So in that sense, it's not too experimental, right? It's non-experimental and experimental. So I do want you, so I'm using the tools of the trade, the 808. I'm doing it in the format of drill and trap and all this fucking, today's hip hop styles, which is still just borrowed from the 80s hip hops. It's just augmented with more processing and more bells and whistles. But then I'm doing this other thing too, which is my content is very magic. It's not black or white magic. It's just magic, but people are going to say it's black magic because it's misunderstood. Right. They're going to say it's Satan because it's misunderstood. They're going to say Hecate's bad chickadee because they want to make her in the pejorative, but it's not. It's just magic.
It's the lady in the black dress. It's the same concept.
Oh, it is. And if you're afraid of it, so that whole archetypal thing too, the grade scale. When I was a kid, like 6 or 7, because they'd give you those shots at school and I'd get sick once a year. Like I'd get fucking like dead sick for a day. I'd have visions. And now I see those visions as me rapping now. It's like the dudes, like me dressed like I am. Sort of being like, animated and stuff. And I could totally see the parallels. I used to see it like very much like Nosferatu standing in the door, like darkening the doorway. Which brings us to the Pennywise It and brings us back to the clowns. So in 89, I was doing as a little kid, obviously you guys can see I look very much like Hayden Christensen. They couldn't get me, so they chose Hayden Christensen to play Darth Vader, right? Anakin Skywalker. I was like, fuck, I'm not fucking working with you guys. And so, but I was doing acting and stuff, and I was in some extras. I was supposed to do an extra for the It, but I love that friggin' movie because all of it is filmed in all the places in Vancouver where I grew up. Stanley Park, Kitsilano, North Vancouver, Deep Cove, New Westminster, before the city changed. I hate the city now, but that movie shows you the way it looked like. And the whole idea of the colorophobia and here kids, do you like a balloon, which I equate to being heroin and drug use and mind control and all these other things that we see in Babylon. Parallels there are just too much. And because people are afraid of it, and I see like people's archetypal thing from pirates, from judges, from the supposed English time where they have white faces and powdered rigs. This was actually them doing the drug. The drug was purple, but when it dried, it went white. And they peeped the drug. So these are a bunch of motherfucking drug addicts laughing at you, pretending they're the bosses. They run the courts. So I see Saturn as DMT. Like when mushrooms or whatever, I can see Pennywise the clown as Saturn, like his DMT vision of Saturn. So I see Pennywise, and I was like, and in my own mind, I was like, yeah. So when I'm doing Pennywise, I'm actually doing Saturnalia, if I could be that way. So it's me being the best, springing forth from a source, the greatest emanations possible, being Saturn the best I can, and Sandy looks like Pennywise because you're on the drugs. And I'm archetypally fucking with people because of pharaohs and colorophobia just by doing it. Right?
Yeah. There's so many layers to just, even if we're just going to separate lyrics and your process with cut-ups, it's just multi-layered. And it's really beautiful because I see that as like such a massive element of magic, is when you can take something and you can repeat it enough that it takes on all these different life forms that compound on each other, and it becomes this very powerful sigil of information where you can use one word, one sentence to describe a world, a universe. I think that's really beautiful.
Which is our two sentences there, are our two words, Hecate Cabaret, a great 2-word combo that means so much.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the beauty in art, is to be able to say these truths with words. And even the voodoo behind it, the Twilight Zone issues, because psychologically, if people don't know, they get very superstitious, so they get worried. And that's how they blackmail people with ego and with class and with degrading each other to control you through the church and through Jesus, is by your superstitions and saying when you die, oh, this will happen, blackmailing you and guilt tripping you all the time. So when I say I don't play a doctor on TV, not only am I dissing the Jesuit theater and dissing their actors, and that a lot of people they say are doctors, like Dr. Fauci, is just a fucking goof piece of shit, fucking clown, fucking gave a bunch of people AIDS, and a goof piece of shit, fucking Jesuit shill. But I'm also warning them like an assassin, like a courtesan, saying I don't play a doctor on TV. And that's the double entendre that, for all the people you've hurt and for all the kids you've hurt, those arrows are coming for you. Hecate's got arrows for you, boys and girls, because a lot of bad chicks, not bad in a good way, but piece of shit, garbage fucking people, are not just men or women, right? So, yeah, that's so it's kind of a way to double insult them and make a satire of it, because we don't threaten people, we just make promises. And Hecate says it's high treason, just like Saturn says it's high treason for what they do to the kids. So
yeah, I'm glad that you.
And then the memes and doing it in music is so much, because that hurts them so much more, right? Because I speak out against them. That really hurts their things so more. So I don't know if you saw the one thing, Candace Owens. You know who Candace Owens is, right? she just did a thing where a few months ago she was asked by Donald Trump, to not speak about. She did a 5 or 6 show series on the French Prime Minister Macron and his husband wife. That the husband wife actually has a penis. Not that it matters, but he did this big thing that the guy, it's actually a man that became a woman. Okay, whatever, right? It's Candace Owens does a big thing. Well, Macron actually came over and asked Trump. He says, "I will not negotiate on stopping the Ukraine war unless Candace Owens stops saying my husband is a man and that it's my husband is a wife." And she said, and literally, like, the fucking president of the U.S. says, "Stop. Like, we want to stop this war in Ukraine, but this fucking guy in France won't even fucking negotiate unless you stop saying his wife is a man." And she goes, "Okay, well, I won't just shut up. I'll give you a time." She says, "I want to see action because I want this war to stop." It's Candace Owens. Because they even said, well, Trump says, "Well, I'll be on your show because I got a lot of pull." And she's like, "Well, obviously I have a lot of pull too. If the fucking, if the French, president of France is asking me to not say his fucking wife has a penis, obviously fucking I have some pull too, right?"
Wow.
So she goes, "I'll be quiet for now, but if I don't see the Ukraine war fucking stop, I'm gonna fucking say that his wife has a fucking penis." Well, about 2 or 3 days ago, because it's been 5 months, she comes out and says, "I was asked," she breaks it all out. Why did I shut up about fucking Macron's fucking husband having a fucking penis? Because Donald Trump asked me to not say it because they're supposed to stop the Ukraine war. Well, it's been 5 months and I haven't seen any fucking action. So I'm back here to tell you that Macron, the fucking, the fucking French prime minister, fucking president of France, is fucking married to a dude with a dink. And I just thought, this is fucking hilarious. And I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. And so this Nosferatu stuff and all this intrigue and all this Jesuit theater, look at how these people's egos and their fucking priority, and that if the people don't have Stockholm syndrome and listen to and how you got all the money in the world, you do cocaine. Like that guy's the fucking, prime minister, president of fucking France, got to have the best coke in the world. He sniffs coke with Trudeau all the time, right? Who the fuck will you give a shit what the fucking people think? Who cares if your fucking husband has a fucking dank or a fucking vagina? Who cares? Go do your fucking coke and get the fuck out of here. Stop the fucking war in Ukraine. What the fuck is wrong with these people?
A promise broken, I suppose.
Anyways, these people's egos, can you imagine? Well, again, who cares? I don't even care if you get off like that. What does this matter? And just because this chick is doing a big expose, who cares, right? Candace Owens, whatever, okay. Tucker Carlson, okay. Joe Rogan, whatever. I don't care. But anyways, isn't that funny just to see how people's like, "Oh, so touchy, baby. It's so touchy."
Yeah. Well, you want me to go through more questions for you?
Sure, and then we can go back to the stuff. We can keep going through. I have a few more things to talk, but as long as everyone's entertained and you're happy, we'll just keep rolling on.
Like it. And if you're watching this on the playback and you keep seeing me laugh, it's because I'm reading the chat and you guys are cracking me up. So let's see here. Okay, I'm curious about this as well. Music nerds only, okay? Everybody else, plug your ears. Music nerds only right now. What tools do you use to craft your music? What 808? What instruments are you using? What do you prefer? What instruments do you play? We want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
Okay,
and how many instruments do you play?
Okay, so I played guitar since I was 6 years old. I played bass and band and percussion. So, like drums and whatever stupid fucking bells and whistles and shit they wanted to do. But it was like orchestra band, right? So you get a stupid thing, and I had to count 800 fucking bars to play 4 fucking bars or whatever fucking stupid is, right? And we've been practicing playing Metallica in the corner 88 or 89, and the fucking the band fucking the teacher would just be so fucking mad, just cutting us with the eyes. But anyway, so I played that guitar and bass basically since I was a little kid. And I played all the instruments, and I played piano since like two. So I just play piano. So I played harpsichord. First song I ever recorded was a harpsichord.
What?
In 1991 or 92. I did a fugue in like fucking F sharp minor or something, all the black keys, and that was
Do
my
you
first
have it?
experience. No, because it was hard to say, but it was done on schools. It wasn't my equipment.
Okay.
And then later, the rich kids, because they all fucking had ideas, they come and stole that. So it was the Michael J. Fox Theater, and it was one of the biggest premier schools. To first, like in the 90s, like 92, to have a digital audio fucking studio for the kids. And within the first year, some of the rich kids had come one night, kicked in the windows, and stole the computers and shit. And then the program was defunded.
That's why we can't have
And
nice things.
and basically, like, because I'm sure they didn't have MPs, but they could have given me it like on a floppy disk, like a Wave or some. Obviously, it existed because I programmed it. Right, it was a programmed song in a computer, and they played it back. So that was my first experiences recording and digital audio workstations and all that stuff. But because technically the hardware was owned by the school, you know what I mean? They would say that they own the master recording or whatever. I mean, it'd be too late now if I had a version of it, but basically it is what it is, right? So
Okay, so sorry, I totally took you off track. I think you played harpsichord. What other instruments do you play? How many
yeah,
do you actually play?
I play wind instruments too, because my dad would play saxophone and stuff too. So and he gave me like an F note guitar when I was a kid. I saw my dad 2 or 3 times in my life before I was 18. But he did encourage me to be a musician. So I play saxophone, flute, anything that percussion. I can get like vibes or anything I can hit, like harps or like a dulcimer or anything like Egypt or belly dance music, because my mom was a belly dancer. So some of my first memories of music is being in like dark, smoked out restaurants and places or whatever, bars and clubs, and the belly dancing music. So minor key, strange, like gypsy music, Persian style, Babylon music, right? And then so nowadays, what do I have? So since then, I bought all my own instruments, and I own everything. I own my own DAW. I used to record on Mackie and Soundscapes. Now I record on Presonus One, Studio One, and they're the same engineers that made Avid that make Pro Tools, but they made their own platform so that all artists can have a free working platform. So I would say that Presonus Studio One is probably the best DAW out there for anybody. I don't use Pro Tools. The only time we ever had a loss of data was on a Pro Tools rig on Apple hardware, and the fucking power shut down and the hard drive was wiped, and they made me re-record. The engineers, no one could get it back. There's a fucking paid studio, all the shit. I had to re-record everything. I have all the stems. Pro Tools blanked. I have a Dave Smith synthesizer. I have a Roland Phantom, Korg Triton Extreme. What do you call that? Workstation, Korg MS2000B. All sorts of different types of other types of like little Korgs, pedals, and Yamaha pedals, and Roland effects. Roland, Yamaha. I do have some Moog stuff.
Oh, really?
I have obviously Rainmakers. I have talk boxes. I have vocoders. I have guitars. I have basses. I have percussions and drums. I don't have a full drums kit here, but I will have an analog drum kit. I have an electronic Yamaha drum kit, which is like the best one you can do. It's like the one that Sir Mix-a-Lot uses in his studio, and it's a really nice drum kit. But because I use what do they call that, programming a lot, I have 3 or 4 different pieces of hardware that have 808 sound cards in them that I can use as a, what do they call that, like a programming. Yeah, well, they had an acronym for it. It was just like a programming center where you just like you program stuff. Pardon me?
Like a sequencer?
Yeah, like a programming sequencer, but they would call it like just a workstation or whatever. I can't. There used to be a word for it that hip hop producers would use, but it's basically just a synthesizer workstation. And like a lot of the Yamaha and the Korg and the Rolands come with sound cards with thousands and thousands of programs. like all sorts of different instrument suites. And some of them sound robotic and some sound real. Some you can't even tell, especially if you change the parameters on the synthesizer so it allows it to act like it's a live performance. You literally can't tell that it's not a guitar, it's a synthesizer. You know what I mean? So
I have a DX7. I don't know if it still works though. I haven't
and
played it.
because I also learned, so sometimes I'll just go record like a door or like a weird like a sound or anything, and I'll put that into the synthesizer. I'll assign it to the keyboard and then use that as a program, or run that through an effects loop and then run that through a talk box, or run this through that and then run that through that and do whatever I want because there's absolutely no fucking rules. So I realized at one point it was only the limit of your imagination was the only rules and how much you applied yourself, because I had to fuck around. Like even today, dealing with stupid stuff. I was late starting the show, not because I wasn't doing stuff, dealing with everything else. So you see that a lot of times, like the major labels, a lot of times artists would get signed not to put your record out so they can shelve you. Then you're under contract and you can't go and do work with other people, and you can't do anything, and your record never comes out and they'll never release you. And whereas another good idea or a good example of a big artist not being let out of a contract, Michael Jackson. The day he died, he still was being controlled by Sony under a very bad contract that was signed during Thriller when Quincy Jones was the producer, and he had the fiduciary responsibility to explain that the contract he was signing was usury. He did not owe in perpetuity the recoupable losses of the album. Can you imagine that they tell you that Thriller didn't recoup its losses? Get the fuck out of here. Anyways, Michael Jackson gave.
Hey, Teddy, my friend has the console that Thriller was mastered on.
Woo, nice. That's super cool. That would be just fucking just to do a video in front of that. Just sit there and fucking just in front of me, like, yeah, I'm just sitting over here, just slide her up and down, like, hey, you know.
Anyway,
super big record. No, that's super cool. Like Vincent Price, too, because Vincent Price was on the hilarious House of Frankenstein, that little Canadian show that just did a couple seasons, and he is obviously just as epic as Vampira, our girl there, Mila Nurmi, right?
Mila Nurmi.
So Mila Nurmi, yeah, I got to pronounce the name, Mila Nurmi, baby. Anyways,
while we're talking about Vincent Price, have you seen his cooking show or his cookbook? Because I know you're planning to do some type of cooking videos.
No, but I should. That definitely, we're writing that down. Get the Vincent Price cooking book. That sounds good to me.
Check it out. Yeah.
Okay. Vincent Price cookbook.
I think
we're taking notes. That's why we keep pens and paper around. And do. All right, that's written down. We'll check that out for sure.
Nice. So was there something that you wanted to redirect towards? Because I know you had some
So we're going to keep talking about Hollywood intrigue. So the next one on the list was Return to Oz. Everyone knows Wizard of Oz being based on the debt usury system and what's that called? A debt-bearing note. So issuing money based upon interest so that it eventually usurps you, right? And then the Return to Oz was, my mom was a belly dancer, and Fairuza Balk's mother, Catherine, were friends. So I knew Fairuza Balk as a kid. She's a couple years older than me, but she was like young, and she was just doing the filming of Return to Oz. And it was like the first, so I'd go and get to hang out with some of the kids sometimes at the parties the older people were at. It was the first time I remember seeing a body with full tattoos, which at the time, most, this is like probably the 80s, mid 80s. To see somebody in full body tattoos was very rare. Not like nowadays, you see people with everyone got tattoos. But it was all belly dancing and drugs and everything. And I had been, I was doing extra work and stuff. But however, whether it was through the dad, I think it was through the dad's connection, but Fairuza got her big break into Hollywood. So that was very interesting, right? And then you see, like, she's obviously one of the most famous witches, does the craft and all this, very popular into our milieu of likes here, right? So, and very strange to see how she went through her life, you know, being in all the very interesting movies that people like so much, you know, like American X and The Craft and all this stuff. I haven't seen all of her films, but you know, she's done some pretty cool stuff, definitely witchy stuff, right? So, and now I think if you go and see her, I think she makes like you can get hand done jewelry and stuff from her, stuff like that. So,
Oh, nice.
you know, anyways, I always liked that I was sort of friends with her. You know, she was older than me, obviously, so they didn't want to hang out with me because I'm a couple years younger, right? But I do remember being around her, just like I remember being around a lot of people in the art industry when I was a kid. A lot of them are adults though, too, right? And they don't pay attention to a kid, but I remember them being in rooms or being around people, right? So in the industry. And of course, my mom and them being all belly dancers like that, you see haunts me to today. And why I love like you girls and Pamela dancing and all that. I encourage everyone to dance more, right? So woo.
Yeah.
And next in the Hollywood thing is that we went over the Tim Curry at 19 is the Sexy Beast thing. So in Sexy Beast, they really Ian McShane plays the character of Teddy Bass, and his inscrutable. He's known as Mr. Darkness. You know, it's very they show it the gangster stuff. So they show the entertainment industry and how people force people to get into gang stuff, and you think you're out of the gang, but you're in the gang. And then, of course, the viciousness of it is that he gets access to the bank through very nefarious means, through intrigue, but then he goes and kills the guy right away after. And then the main character, Ray, he's the only witness, but he gets to leave because they keep asking about where the one handler is, where what's the other famous actor's guy's name is. Let's pull up all the actors in Sexy Beast. Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley's in the thing. But Ben Kingsley gets deaded before Ray goes to finish the job to steal all the money. And they keep asking him where Ben's character is, right? But he's keeping pretty quiet. But Teddy Bass knows that he's dead, and they can tell because he slipped up with his words and stuff. But they sort of let him go anyways. And at the end, it's so funny because he goes, how much should I say I pay you for that? And he goes, oh, you said you'd give me a tenner, right? And he's thinking 10 grand. And he pulls a $10 bill out of the fucking wallet and gives him a tenner. And we're good now. Now get the fuck out of the car. Boom. But when he was doing the heist, he had fucking put 2 like rubies or something, which are probably worth 40 or 50 grand, maybe 100 grand, or jewels, maybe a couple hundred grand. So he still got paid technically, and he's just going to give that to his wifey, who's an ex-porn star, who Ben Kingsley has the fucking big crush on, that they end up fucking killing him. Like, the movie is just fucking insanely clever. And of course, the Teddy Bass being the devil and Mr. Black Magic, these catchphrases, and for tenor and all these other catchphrases I use in the writing of the poetry comes a lot from that Sexy Beast and the fuck off to beat the banks. The metaphor in Sexy Beast is to win against the banks and the system, which is unheard of. And to not go to jail, to get away with it too, right? So
yeah. Damn.
So the movie Sexy Beast, like and a lot of people may not get it, but it's very complex and it shows you the real thing. Because I grew up in the entertainment industry, so like they were growing weed, or they were selling cocaine, or they were selling heroin. There was a bozo room. The girls all went and did drugs. They didn't want the kids and some people to see, or it was like some people were square. There was always a bozo room. Funny though, they call it the clown room, where people were doing drugs. The girls had long fingernails. They couldn't roll joints. They'd pay me to roll their joints since I was 6 years old. So it's always around the drug. That's why the drug culture makes so much sense to me. I go, it's always been the drug culture. They just lie to you. That's how the control was. They fucking blackmail you with Jesus. They get you to go do some weird shit with some kids or some little kids. They film it, and they get you high on drugs, and now you're fucked.
I was wondering why your Asterion was so...
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's nice.
So I've been around, and I had to keep really cool. Like, so a lot of times when I was a kid, I saw bad shit and I couldn't do anything about it, right? But now I'm a grown-up man. I don't let people harm kids. I don't let people harm women in front of me. And a lot of those people, like a lot of people, my worst enemies are probably dead or fucking had the worst things. You guys want to hear a heavy story? So one day, me and one of my friends, we're just drinking. We're poor kids. And we had like vodka and just fruit. So like bananas and oranges. And we're just, it's the middle of the day. It's hot. And we decided to go sleep on the roof of one of our friends' houses. They're all like ranchers. Well, some of the other mean rich kids or well-to-do kids come and see us. And they threw rocks at us until we woke up, like getting by hit rocks. Well, I came out off the house and into the alley, and there's 3 of the guys, and they beat the shit out of me really fucking bad, but I was drunk. And I went to 7-Eleven. I'm just covered in my own blood. And before I left, the 7-Eleven people called the police. And the police come, and I go, oh, no, it's okay. I just fell down a flight of stairs. It's okay. And everyone's like, what do you mean, dude? Like, fucking. I'm like, no, it's okay. And I was beat up so bad. I went to my friend's house and I puked in the hallway because I was beat up so bad. And I'd eaten Mr. Noodles and I puked out the window. And for years, everyone saw the dried Mr. Noodles and would laugh about the day I puked Mr. Noodles because I was beat the shit out of so bad. But because I never told the police and I never ratted out, those kids were terrified. So the one kid, the family moved him away. Another kid committed suicide, and another guy did drug overdose because they thought I was going to come and get them because of what they did, and they deserved it. But there was no rules. I mean, so anything bad that happened to them, and they destroyed themselves just because of what they did, just by throwing rocks and me standing up to them and going, what the fuck are you fucking doing? And if you want to fucking attack somebody 3-on-1, then it can happen to you. And I took my beating. They beat the shit out of me, and I didn't go and cry for help. And that scared the hell out of them. So there you go. There's a little, that's the type of world I grew up. So when I deal with the gangster shit, and I've seen so much gangster shit and money, like I used to sell a lot of weed. People would bring cocaine and duffel bags of guns. And I'd be like, we want money. We don't want, because we knew now I see it as the CIA just trying to get us to do the stupid shit. We're like, it's money. We don't want the bags of guns. Don't want the cocaine. I told you, no coke. It's just weed, man. You know what I mean? And they never saw somebody be like, because everyone else was like, sure, they would just keep upgrading. Okay, now we'll go to the heroin. Now we'll go to the yellow cake. Yeah, what's the next thing? Now we'll start selling children. Okay, what we'll do, right? I'm like, no, it's just weed, man. It's just weed. That's it. And get all your shit the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't bring me. I said, my brother spent 30 years in jail. I know what it is. I'm trying to not go to jail, you fucking idiots. And I know you're being run by the police and the government. So get the fuck away from me.
That was a wild ass
So that's
story.
where some of the, is it art imitating life? Is life imitate art? And then we get to No Country for Old Men, where, our good friend there, what's his name? Anton Sugar. I can't remember the actor's name now. Anyways, we all know who he's talking about there. He's a pretty good dude. But some of his just solemn stuff, and where you would actually, if you would go as a courtesan or get you would hire someone to do the job. But they wouldn't even be motivated by money. They may get paid for some reason. But if you give them a task, they're going to do it. So I think in that movie, they just show a different type of person, a different type of player that a lot of people don't understand in the lies of the Jesuit theater, that there are players out there that do not play the rules of your government or of your society or anything. They're like rogue, radical elements players.
Yeah. The spooky ones.
Yeah, and they know that they can get, when they're military trained and they've seen so much stuff and they know what they can do and what they can get away with, and how to make it look so it doesn't bring attention to themselves, right?
Yeah.
And then you get into the Fargo stuff where it's absolute stupid calamity, where you just bring the fucking police to you. Both times that we got in the 90s when it was really legal, we had big gross shows, they got busted, was because of people's greed and ignorance. The one guy was living at one of the warehouses, and that's fine, but he should have parked his vehicle away. So they eventually, the neighbors got the police to come to see if someone was occupying a commercial building. And just through that, because we had hidden doors, one of the doors, the Velcro on the door wasn't completely touched because there was trap doors and the grow lights were still on. And so they saw a glow through a wall and they didn't understand why. So simple mistakes because of people being lazy. But if he had parked his vehicle like at the Max or the store 2 blocks away, they never would have come and checked the buildings. But he parked right in front of the fucking building. Right. And for fucking months and months. And eventually in a commercial building where no one's supposed to be, or you know what I mean? And there's goof people that are always trying to watch what you're doing, right? And always trying to fucking, I'm with the church. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then the other time was a really good thing. One of the 3 investors, one of the first or second times it came down, the one guy said he's going to dry it. And then a week later, he calls and says, well, it's not drying right. We ask him what he's doing. It's like 15, 20 pounds, 10, 15 pounds. He says he's got in a little tiny room and it's still wet. We go, you should have in a room the size of your fucking living room. What the fuck? Have you ever done this before? Well, he got his little ego hurt. Well, about 6 or 8 months, he goes and tries to rob the place. So him and his buddy come late at night, but he doesn't know all the neighbors know who's supposed to be there. They call the police. He gets busted there, says he's trying to get, his partner or something. They wait to see till someone comes there. I go there to water it, and like a couple days later, and I get arrested, and the police go, who would it be? And I said, stranger. I thought about it, and I fucking named the fucking guy's name, and he goes, yeah, he was here trying to say he's looking for his business partner. You guys owe money and stuff, and we've already been inside. And the cops hated this guy, apparently. And I had a 357 in there. And I was like, this is just when they made it. If you were caught with an unregistered firearm, you'd go to jail 2 years. And I'm like, fuck it. They find that I'm fucked. So we get out and they just hold me. There's again, I don't have a criminal record because every time these guys, they wouldn't charge me. So they'd hold me in jail for a few hours. And then someone would say, and then we're not charging you. And then they'd wait to see if someone would go get killed or they're following to see what other nonsense will happen. Right. So I go into the place. There's 3 or 4 garbage bags of weed. They didn't even take all the dry weed. I'm like, this is fucking really weird. And we called the guy. So the guy who was gonna. And the police tell me that there was another person. There was another person in Balaclava that ran away. And we go, so we're thinking about this. So I talked to the other partner, and he goes, really? And he goes, does he know that the cops said that it was him there? And I go, no. Okay, so we're just going to go to let him know that the cops have busted the joint and see what he says and see if he acknowledges that he's the one that was there and got busted on the property trying to enter the building and stuff, right? And so he is like a Hindu fucking brown kid, piece of shit, dude. Socks wants to say hi. Hey, everybody. My name's Socks. All right. There you go, okay? You're saying hello. We're on the microphone. Hello, my name is Socks. All right, go on now. And so I go and see in the 357s there, they didn't find it because even if they brought in the dogs, it went to the one of the baby rooms. So I just pull it out and I just roll the cylinder in front of him and I watch him go pale skin. And I say to him, hey man, police said fucking, I came here to water the place. Police said they caught you and somebody in the backyard. And then you just see him like we realize, and you going, well, why were you there? What were you going to do? Right. And then he starts saying, well, I'm out money and stuff. And go, what are you doing? Everything's just fine. This is a good thing. What'd you ruin for it? And the other guy, the other partner is like heavy up in the Asian world stuff, right? And he's like, don't worry, I'll handle it. He was so fucking mad that this guy fucking said it was a good thing. Everyone just had to shut the fuck up. You're going to go and rob one of our own good things because you're a little greedy goof shit because you never dried a fucking plant in your life and you're going to ruin it for everybody. But yeah, it was one of those things. So, but hilarious, right? And the guy's like, no, because I had to go to a couple of big sit-down meetings in my life, big time. But, I did nothing wrong and I did nothing. So I never went in fear. But all the time, they're like, we'll handle it. It's good. A couple other times I got caught in places where I was just helping. And then I have to go, me and they're like, what did you say? I'm like, didn't say nothing. Okay, we'll pay all your legal bills. Just go. But, I obviously, after 9/11 too, I stopped being around certain people because we found out certain people trying to be members and trying to pay, paying VIGs like 40 grand a month to be in a fucking club and shit. And we're like, you're fucking an idiot. You're going to get killed. And some people like, well, I funded about $3 million worth of cocaine. And I'm like, and who are you selling it to? Well, I'm doing about $1,000 a day of cocaine myself and all this stuff. Yeah, someone's going to get dead, guys. You're going to end up dead. Okay, I'm not going to be around any of these fucking fools. I know the people that come from big families, big wealthy like doctor families, so they've got money or they got big drug addictions they can hide on. Their family will send them to rehab multiple times, hundreds of thousands of dollars in bailouts for their drug dealers and shit. Just fucking hilarious, right? So, yes, that's some of my experiences on just trying to have a joint and, sing a song and not be controlled by the fucking pedophile fucking warmonger Epstein types, the George Soros fucking rackets.
When did you start recording music though? How old were you when you started? Like you said 11, you had experience with the computer.
Yeah, so the first one I was I would have been so 16 or 17 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then we were playing in live bands.
Metal, right? Like a metal band.
Yeah, or even that's the first thing in 92. The first time I recorded, I'm 15 or something like that or something, Cool. Oh no, I'm 16. So. Wow. And then we would go to studios and get demos done. Like we were always recording demos and I would always do mixtapes. So it's just our technology wasn't good. I didn't understand what mastering was. I didn't understand about, like stems so it would just be like a condenser mic. But even like guys like in our band Vaporizer, they just want to do it Black Sabbath style, like 2 mics in the room, just hanging there, just recording.
Sometimes that sounds magical though, right?
It is what it is.
Get them in the right place.
Yeah, exactly.
Depends on how many people you have in a room, I guess.
Well, and if you have an engineer after, they can put a nice reverb on it or a chorus or something, whatever. You can fancy it up later, right? But all the limitations that I now know. And I'd done claymation and I'd made my own video in high school. So I'd done like video editing and like stop go motion and all these other things, which is actually forms of Hollywood, of producing footage or whatever you think it is, right? So it was just before digital. So it was analog, right? So, wow. But that's still exposure to what we do now, which is the arts of the entertainment industry of Lady Babylon.
Yeah. Can I ask one of my questions?
Go right for it.
Do you wish that more people would volunteer for the hell of it?
It's funny. I thought about that today. So I call that as, you don't need to get paid to do the correct thing. Right and wrong, that's subjective. But to do the correct thing, you don't need to get paid. So I think if more people did the correct thing, the world would be a better place. So yeah, to do it for the giggles and the laughs and just to do it to volunteer, I think it's good. And, that's also talking to Hecate because it gives back to you. It's just you're not getting, you're not doing it for monetary things or you're not doing it for a certain set amount of money. But when you do things, when you give or when you communicate with the cosmos and you help the human artifact and its condition, then nature listens, Medea listens. So it's not like, you know what I mean? Like it's not it's not that you're not rewarded, I guess, or if you understand, like Hecate loves that you make the place a better place. So does Medea.
It's kind of almost like a bit of mirror magic as well. When you volunteer in a situation, you're entering something that's typically outside of your normal day-to-day life. And when you begin, and you really learn and see different aspects of yourself reflected in the situations. So there's some kind of power in that as well.
Oh, and I'll show you dark magic too. You actually volunteer to the job, what you enslaves you. You actually volunteer to it. It's just a trick. It's a trick of your ego. So everything is actually volunteered. You volunteer your own slavery. to volunteer for not, you know what I mean, to not play for that paycheck, which again is a form of subversion, then that is truly freeing yourself. But again, the truth will set you free. So, and making the world a better place. Well, I think, yeah, I wish more people would do it, but they are very controlled by the cult of personality, and they really like the oracle. They watch the Delphonic oracle, and they masturbate on the third hand information. They go, oh, third hand information. And they like that, and they're very placid, and they're very dead. Where I'm more animated, I'm more alive. I'm like, does this make sense to me? And I take two different models, and I go, okay, these models conflict with each other, and I choose a model, and then I go and apply it. Right? It's completely different. I live in an alternate universe. The cosmos I live in, there might be some parallels, but it's a different realm completely. Right?
Well, that's kind of how I wish it to be for a lot more of us, to have our own universe specific to us instead of taking on all these other energies and putting those out.
That's right. And you can do it. You can do it. You can make it whatever you want, you know, so, or you choose, you volunteer for it, whatever it is, it is. And that's why I say, if people don't like tyranny or fascism or communism or socialism or whatever the ism schism of the day is, well, why are you entertaining it? If you just stopped, if you all just stopped and didn't go to work that day, you sure would shut it down pretty good.
I mean, if everyone just took the day off, we could have a real party.
That's right. And if we all just communicated instead of looking at the box and taking that, instead of we just talked to our neighbors and got the information directly, we don't have to agree on everything, but we can say, hey, tomorrow we're having a party. We can all go have a party tomorrow, right? So it's pretty easy.
Yeah. I like the question of, like, have you seen this as experienced in your day-to-day life? But that's just me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, they give ourselves.
What'd you say?
Go ahead. I said, well, they make their own experience. Like, if you want a different experience, why don't people? And don't they see that? Don't they see that they, you know, because people are so bored and fidgety, or they need to take the drug because they don't like the thing. The drug gets them through the day. But yeah, that's all self-imposed on a lot of levels. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of levels. I don't want to be an absolutist. Well,
no,
okay.
I try not to be. Well, so try and say that I understand all aspects of Saturnia or Urania. That would be me saying, no, I have a perception point. I have, you know, my experience, but I certainly don't think I know everything, or can I define everything. I'm not here to define anything. I'm just doing practical magic. I'm just doing the scribe thing. I'm putting it together. I'm doing cut up magic. Like William S. Burroughs says, the world itself, existence is very cut up. So I'm just sort of applying the cut up magic from the greatest. I'm just emanating the best I can do is emanate the greatest vibrations in this Hecate cabarets.
I think that there's something to be said about culture and how it's meant to kind of prevent us from using the cut up magic. It's like, no, be this, fit this form.
Yeah. So they can use it because they can flip the script whenever, but you're not supposed to. And you're supposed to stay in character, and you're always supposed to just be, you know, whatever little noun power name they gave you. And you're always just supposed to be the slave to the state. You know what I mean? They don't want you to jump, or you have that magic that they do, which they go, oh, now today we've decided that it's the opposite day.
It's like noun versus verb personality.
100%, yeah. Well, people to do, and that's part of the magic. So they've made you into a noun, where people that are verbs wouldn't even understand why you would. They'd look at you as dead. They go, "You're not even alive."
Me, I could be a verb. Are you serious?
Yeah, they'd be like, "But you're well." Then they're dead. That would be very much. They'd look at them. They go, "They take the dead magic, and they do the noun thing." To me, they'd be like, "That's very demonic." They'd be like. They don't even acknowledge the creator. They look at it like you're retarded. They will like, wow, they don't even see the creator in front.
Capitalization versus not capitalized, kind of like legal magic, basically.
So it's very it's the old ways, and it's the comprachicos. You know, I stopped looking at things in the sense so much as good or bad, and just more action based. And those who know, so it's if you know, and it's that's. actually how initiated you are, because in a secreting society, then that would be for the, the individual. But if you're going through, like, that's where Gurdjieff and those would say, I wouldn't want to be part of the Jesuit Masons and all that. That's way too pish pot. If they would accept me, I wouldn't have them anyways, because that's not what I want to be a part of their facsimile of the mystery. I'll go hang out with Hecate, not the fucking fake ass bullshit.
Yeah. Well,
So,
go ahead.
I got one more thing. When you go ahead, you had a question.
No, you please.
Okay, so I was just gonna say one more Hollywood intrigue thing is Japanese cinema. Like, if you guys know Takeshi Mike, very bloody, very horror thing. But there's
What
another
did he
actor
do?
called, pardon me?
What did he do though? What was it?
He'd done some of these like brutal gore movies where it's like
Okay.
samurais cutting, it's like brutal gore.
Just
Yeah, very, very cinematic, like overkill type of gore stuff. But it was like very, machete kills, and like Hollywood has adopted it now. But there's another Japanese actor called Takeshi Kitano. He's also known as Beat Takeshi. He's a comedian. There used to be a thing like Whiplash. It was called Takeshi's Castle. They had like like an amusement park or a bunch of obstacles. You'd roll through and you get splashed and paint. It was like a funny show. But he started doing gangster movies, and he does Yakuza gangster movies, and it's so inscrutable. And there's a lot of times where I get my scene setting, because I've been in places where there's like, people, serious people, but that they show the gore and they show the Yakuza sort of inscrutable, like you have to keep your stomach fucking tight. It's so gore. The Naked Lunch, William S. Burroughs' fucking brutal fucking street of it. So if you guys can watch any Takeshi Kitano movie, please do. He put out a gangster trilogy called Outrage. So there's 1, 2, and 3. It's only like in Japanese, but there's English subtitles. But they're the most gangster movies I've ever fucking seen. The most gangster, that shows you way better than the good, like The Godfather. Way better than all this other fucking shit. Takeshi Kitano, Outrage trilogy. If people like gangster movies and just to see how it goes down, like, well done. And in fact, any movie that Takeshi Kitano does is pretty much worth watching. So that's my notes for the Hollywood intrigue. There you go, everybody. Punching in some of my favorite movies, and where I get the mashup for the House of Frankenstein, Clubhouse of Frankenstein, and the variety show we do, like the fun stuff, because that's House of Frankenstein, to be all these different characters and have the clowns and stuff like that, right? So that's very much the fun sort of Vampira, Cheech and Chong, Trailer Park Boys-esque one take type of almost reality TV stuff,
I love your videos. They're so good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know you have more coming out soon, right? For the new album?
Yeah, I got 3 done today, and there's another. So I got 4 we just got to edit, and then but I'm going to do 8 for this video. And I like, you see how I do it. Like, because everyone wants to edit, and we will do some editing stuff, but I just like to do the one take and just sort of make it like the live performance, because that's me doing satire and mocking the NASA $200 million a day lie to you industry, which is they put a lot of polish and schlock on it, right? In fact, that's what Vampira called it, schlock Hollywood.
Schlock. Yeah. Well,
so there you go. Boom.
I look forward to it. I seriously do not know how you get so much done. You just like recorded an entire album after you had done like a series of 4 videos, and now you're doing a whole other round of like 8 more videos. It's insane and amazing.
Yeah, just get something done every day. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just get some work done every day. It's all it is. And then it's like riding a bicycle. I explain this to people too. So you make it look easy. And it's not that it's easy, but just you make it look easy because you keep practicing. And that's what skilled Ronin is, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is art of it. So this is also part of the question we were asked earlier about my writing process. Is art is an equation. That is a direct quote from Ram LZ. And if you don't know who Ram LZ is, everyone, you should look it up. But he is the guy that made Basquiat, Jean-Michel Basquiat. There is no Jean-Michel Basquiat without Ram LZ. And he said art is an equation, which is application. So he would just do it like everything is. And that is, we are pattern recognition units, and music is very pattern. Everything is very, oscillation frequency. You are yourself a perception point in this cascading thing of theater. And you're very, sound is far more intimate. I think sound actually controls a lot more of our reality, our perception of reality, than we know for these orifices here that we are gross orifices that we spend a lot of time with. I think that the ears are actually far more erogenous and actually more intimate to the actual perception, because you're just perceiving something through 9 gates. That's what Sanskrit says. You're in the city of 9 gates. You got two ports in your lower chakras, and then you got 7 gates up here, and then you got your membrane, the biggest organ on your body, the skin, right? But the gates is really how you interact with this realm, because it's through the gates that you eat, and you see the light, you breathe the air, and you hear the sound, right? So the human artifacts, yeah, the human artifacts perception points are here, and what we in our face, and then our genitals, right? So but yeah, that's Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, and understanding the magic of Sim Sim Salabim and Open Sesame and the beepity boppity boos of it all, right? So the human artifact, which is why I really like what you're doing. Those some of the songs, you sound like Ryko Sop. Made me just think of like fucking how good. So I really like the music you do, by the way.
Thanks. Mind blown. It's crazy. I've just been uploading all this old music, but it's making me want to make new music. So that's exciting.
And we got to do like something like.
Oh,
go ahead. So yeah, I said we got to do a record like that. We got to do like Massive Attack or Rape Assault record or something like that. It'd be really fun.
Yeah. Do we want to mention that we're working potentially on something, or do we?
Yeah, we mentioned we were doing a tribute thing. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like a mashup. But what do you call that? Surfer rock? What do you call that? No, it's called like.
Yeah. It's very like Gorgon, Bop, Surfer Rock, like the Cramps or something.
Yeah, wasn't there like a term for that in the 50s and 60s? Like, wasn't it, or was it called hula dancing? No, it was called. There was a thing. It was called shake. There was for the dancing when they would dance on those little stages. There's a word for it. You know what I'm talking about?
Go-go dancing.
It was like go-go dancing, but being go-go dancing with surfer rock or something. Because when you look at the Bela Lugosi's video, they're go-go dancers, right? But they're doing it in grayscale goth, right? So
yeah,
and very, very Vampira as well. Like that whole time, like that's just right there, right? So
yeah,
amazing. Yeah, I like that whole thing. Very sort of goth and a little S&M-ish, but not too much,
Yeah, it's even
Vampira said that. She said she put in a little bit of whips and stuff just to spice it up, right? So it was good.
Yeah, like a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah, and the people like it too, right? Badass chickadillas, right? Don't mess with the badass chick too, right? But you don't know who she's with. That's the cortisone too, right? So
yeah, exactly. Well, do we want to keep going, or do we want to eat basil? Because Teddy hasn't had this basil yet tonight.
Yeah, I can eat some. I'm a little bit hangry. Am I being fucking angry? Am I swearing too much?
Basil. The only person I've ever seen just like eat basil leaves. Yeah, you are like Popeye.
I have 2 or 3 different types of beautiful basil out there just growing wonderful. So I just go right and just eat it fresh from the garden. All these type of things. Very lucky. But, again, that's the reality I made for myself. If people want to have that reality, I encourage you to do that, and not to give your agency over to the, the local Walmart or whatever food store you buy from, but to at least, subsidize your buying of food, is create some of your own food and feed yourself and make things as from scratch as you can. There's nothing more like making your own bread than buying your own bread. It may not be practical all the time, but me and my daughter, we love to make our own pizzas and make my own pizza dough. It doesn't take that much, so.
Nice. You ever get into sourdough?
Oh yeah, I love sourdough. Absolutely love sourdough.
Seriously, if you can like subsidize, well, how do I want to say this? If you can, it's kind of like
just offset, or like just anything. It's not just don't give all of your agency over to them, right?
Yeah, well, learn how to do a couple things. It's like when you are trying to refocus your health or change your diet, you don't want to like remove everything. You just want to add more better things until the bad stuff falls off. So it's like that with life. If you want to have better habits, then just add a couple better habits and let the bad ones fall off. Or, learn how to cook a couple meals for yourself or plant a plant, and see how it goes. Don't put so much pressure on it and just build on it.
I think it's very therapeutic. One of the things in addiction recovery is growing things, and also in having a relationship with what you know as the creator. If you grow a plant or a tomato or anything and you see it grow, that'll help people, because then it's not just an inanimate object. You saw it spring forth from a place. You saw it do its thing. So that can be therapeutic for a lot of people. So maybe, it's not like you grew enough tomatoes to not buy tomatoes, but you did it. That may just help just in the process of doing it.
That's a really beautiful point. That's super important, because it really is about the process. It's not about the destination. We want to have the experiences and get our hands into the soil and our feet on the ground in as many ways as possible so we can live grounded, healthy, happy lives as humans, being humans, being okay with being humans.
I only grew a couple of tomatoes that time, but I needed 20 times. So then you grow 20 tomato plants, right? But at least you started and you went there, right? And so that actually freed you, or gave you at least a different reality, because you were living in a reality where that didn't even exist. You'd given all that away, the beautiful nature, that nature's right there, right? So
yeah. And your own salsa is the best.
That is everything. Chop it, everything you make, because it's made with love. Here's another thing. I worked, some of the people, the wealthy kids, like they worked at KFC. They told me that they basted human shit and sold it as a burger. I do not eat at fast food places because I'm traumatized by what fucking kids do. I cannot let people touch my food. I was a bartender for years too. I can't let people make my drinks. I can't let people touch my shit because I can't trust these motherfuckers.
People do nasty stuff all the time. We should just...
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, well, I know at least if I did it, it didn't have hate in my heart. At least, but it was, and everyone can use a little bit of poison, right? But at least it wasn't hating. I was chopping this fucking thing. I fucking hate this fucking thing. Eat these fucking things, you fucking, like, I gotta eat this anger now.
You're eating somebody's worst day ever.
Yeah, exactly, right? And all that energy is in there, right? Because that's the water vibrations, the cymatics to it. That was the intent put into it, right? So, yeah, and I was vegetarian for a lot of my life. I eat a little bit of meat, and to me, I consider that one of the dark arts is to eat dead things. But I do it a little bit, but I'm very choosy about what dead things I eat. And I know that nature also gives everything was live. So I respect that the plants give their energy over to me too, which a lot of people disassociate themselves. They think that if it doesn't have eyeballs, it's not alive, which is incorrect too. So,
yeah. You can actually use tuning forks to tune your meat before you eat it.
Cool. Well, there you go. And of course,
That's side note.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. But that's intent too. Now you're going and you're changing. Now you're doing your own ritual, which is again being a magician or a witch, but don't use it pejoratively, like good thing for you, is you're affecting it. So if if there was bad energy, you're trying to release that energy, or you're trying to vibrate it at a certain thing. But to me, I consider that practical magic.
Exactly. Well, Teddy,
and it's everyone to do it. So, but staying healthy is important, right? But I mean, we're all exposed to poisons and bad shit. It's limiting our things, but you got to have a little bit of thick skin and bark. So I wouldn't say become one of those bubble people where you just fucking don't expose yourself to poison either, right? Don't go and take their poison. I'm not suggesting you go jab yourself with a bunch of jab poisons.
No. But don't get me started about that, because that's so real. Like when you start to restrict everything so strictly, you start to
develop that hand lotion thing, because your bacteria on your hand's important. And by them they were killing all of the bacteria, the good and the bad. Then you actually had no defenses.
Yeah.
So that's part of that over thing. And that's using people's fear, because it's not based in science or in physics. It's fear and ego, and they're getting you to do, and they're taking your money from it, and they're shaming you. The pandemic was a giant shaming ritual. Pedophiles going, you will do exactly what the pedophile says. And that's what they did. And it worked for a lot of people. But I don't listen to pedophiles. To me, it was like the Peanuts, where they just go, wah, 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 wah. And I'm like, I speak English, motherfuckers. What? I don't listen to pedophiles.
I made stickers at some point when that whole thing was happening and sent them around to people who wanted them so they could put them up all over the place. And it just was like John Lennon, Yoko Ono art, and it just said "Lockdown is over if you want it." It was pretty cool. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but
I was a
anyways,
contractor, so I fought with them every day. It was one of the biggest battles. Every single day, I had to do a psychological battle. I had to remind them I understand my legal position and I understand adjudication and contracts, and I will not go. I will not have anything to do with this, and you will not be touching my daughter or anything. You know what I mean? So it's a very. They didn't see very many people give pushback like me, and I said I don't care. I'm not saying no, but it was said to wait and see. And then, now the biggest thing, you walk into Victoria General Hospital, there's a big QR code that says vaccine injury. So I laugh at them and go, fuck you guys.
yeah, it's super sad.
Yeah, they just didn't like me because they never seen someone push back. And I was at a big, like in their military medical apex of it all, like at this University of Victoria in Victoria, Canada. That's the biggest city of their hallmark flagship bullshit lie of the Ukraine war and all this other fucking clown shit. And I just said no. And like that at the University of Victoria is where I had a NATO officer tell me that he shot civilians because we called him out and said, where were you when he said that he'd done all these fucking duties for fucking NATO? And we made him admit that he shot civilians, and we made him look like a goof piece of shit. And he stopped coming to work because he was so embarrassed. And I guarantee you he's in the dirt in Ukraine, because that's what they do is they get the Ukraine was a cleanup operation to get rid of operators like that. Just like Hillary Clinton. When you go and do shitty, dirty work for them, you get the box of chocolates from the Mossad, and the box of chocolates is laced with fucking cyanide. Stack of money and a box of chocolates. Do not eat the chocolates, because you'll find, if you do your research, you'll find that anyone who eats the chocolates does not come home. But yeah, that's what you get for your good service when you work for the Marxist, what do they call that? The useful idiots for their warmongering. And they can't have loose ends. So you're a logistics problem just because So
Yeah, that's
big
true.
cleanup operation, right? So
Yeah. Damn.
sorry if I'm touching big subjects here. If everybody doesn't know about big subjects, talk about wordables and stuff.
I love that somehow you and I are magically like the same type of weirdo in so many ways. It's hilarious.
Cool. So much fun, Shannon. We had a good time. And we see, like I said, we rolled right in there. It was pretty easy. Didn't even notice. Time's flying. 2.5 hours. Just like that. Boom. All right, everybody. I hope you had a great time. We'll wrap it up in the next few minutes. But thanks a lot. Say thanks to Shan, Modern Medwa. Subscribe, like, share the show, all these things, notifications. And watch, we'll put on more stuff. We're going to do lots of stuff. We're trying to put out content and give you guys different choices, or everyone, the human artifact, different choices than just their fucking pigeonhole choices. We're just giving you more options. And we encourage you to think for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Well put, Teddy. Well put. Thanks. And also the links are in the description of this video if you guys want to find Teddy's YouTube page or Spotify. Listen to the new album. It is called Nosferatu, and it is fantastic. So there's some songs in there that are probably going to be like, this is the new anthem. And
well, then let's talk. Let's give them one more minute about Hollywood and the record and the industry lies and scams. So, because I went to college for entertainment management, I learned how the major labels do this. And I also did an internship at Network Records where Terry McBride, who did Sarah McLachlan's label, and he's the guy that made the MP3. So I watched like the inside of the kitchen of us going digital from CD, from hard to digital. So I know the game. But yeah, it was a real thing. Even though it was all owned by the same umbrella corporation, say Warner Brothers or Interscope or whatever, or whoever, everybody did it. It's not it's part of the Paola scam. You would ship, technically your friend. So your friend owns the distribution company. You own the record label. You manufacture X number of copies of your record, and you ship it to the distributor. The second it's shipped and it's on the paper, it's certified gold. Not even one copy is sold, but you can go now put on the commercial that the new Britney Spears record is gold. And that was the subversion trick. And a lot of times some people would even do the numbers where you're just allowed to it, and people would fudge the numbers. And it was all like in locations. There's a West Coast printing place, there's a East Coast printing place. So some guys would just print off more bootleg records and sell them and never tell the record label they sold that. Meanwhile, they'd sold 100,000 extra copies. Other people would just ship it, and then not a record company, nothing was sold, but they'll put it on the shelves and people think it's sold. So it's a lot of shell game. You know what I mean? It's diversion and tricky. So when we make the joke about saying it's gold, all it really takes for the major labels is for me and Shan just to write a little memoir that says we've ordered the correct numbers. The record's platinum now. And that's how they fool people.
Yeah. Monopoly.
Amazing. I mean, that's and then they get product placement. So then when you went to the store, they would have the Shania Twain or the Eminem record there at the cashier, because that was all product placement. But because it was certified gold, they were going to put it in the high profile place where then you were going to impulse buy it on the way out. You know what I mean? So very interesting on how they run the people.
That's how I sold out of my cassette in 5 days. It was on the end cap at Amoeba in Hollywood. Thank goodness. It works. Proof is in the pudding.
That's right. It is. So it's all about it. It's colors and plastics and lights and bells and whistles, baby. And people are into it, right? So if you know the game, it is the game. So
yeah.
Was it don't hate the player, hate the game, baby.
I love it. We should do this again sometime.
Sure. Thanks a lot, everybody. Really appreciate it. Let us know if you want us to do more of these things, or we'll come up with other stuff. I don't know if there was enough magic and art in there, but we can focus on more magic and art or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and leave a comment if you liked it, if you're watching this after the fact, and make sure you listen to the new album, Nosferatu by Teddy Bass. We'll see you guys next time.
Calypso riff, big fat slip, airship gear shift in a sacred drift. Calypso riff, big fat slip, airship gear shift in a sacred drift.
In a sacred drift, Beelzebub.